Gateshead will be playing from left to right in front of us as we look at it. And as I mentioned earlier, about a third of the pitch now covered in sunshine, the rest of it in the shade. Gateshead, who conceded early in their last couple of games, will do their absolute hardest to not do the same thing again. Funnily enough, Paul, both of these sides scored own goals in the first 10 minutes of their games last weekend, so they both have to be a little bit careful and try and start the game comfortably more than anything else.
Well, they have, and you mentioned Gateshead there. I mean, it's the psychology of it, giving a goal away in the first 10 minutes, and then you're just battling for a long time. But hopefully they can get by the 10-minute mark today.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Indeed, we keep mentioning it, but Rob Elliott's still searching for that first win in charge. It turns out that Dorking's formation is slightly different to what I had anticipated, so we will go back through that in a minute or two. They're actually lined up with a back four this afternoon, which they haven't done for a little while. But Gateshead have possession. Billy Chadwick gets his first touch of the afternoon. How important he could turn out to be playing up front for Gateshead this afternoon. The ball forward towards Stephen Wern, who'd come up from left wing back. Wasn't a bad one, but his positioning was. He was caught a couple of yards offside, and it is about being sensible with the ball. I know Rob Elliott wants to be more dynamic and more attacking, but settle into the game first.
Well, they'll have to do that. But I mean, we've talked about Denanga not playing. I mean, he's the big lad up front, as you would say, can hold it up and he can score goals. So that system might be a little bit different today, Colin.
It's a good header that's won by Kenton Richardson away on that far side for Gateshead. It's gone straight out for a throw-in, pretty much on the halfway line for Dorking Wanderers, who are a fascinating club in many ways. 12 promotions in the last 25 years. They were formed as a Sunday League team, basically, by a few friends who were all Wimbledon fans, the original Wimbledon, if you like, now MK Dons, who were all a bit disillusioned with the way their own Premier League club was being run. They decided to start their own one. And one of the men who started it is Mark White, who is the owner and the chairman and the manager, and has been all of those things for the last 25 years as well. He did play for a spell when they were much, much lower down the leagues, and they have been on quite a rise. This is their second season in National League, and they're quite bullish about the way they run themselves, and they're still part-time, so they are very much still punching above their weight, but they are a fascinating club. And there's just a late challenge goes in on Ed Francis there. That may even be the first yellow card of the afternoon. It was just overrun by the Dorking midfielder.
I think he went to go for his yellow card, but then I think he's having a look of it and just to see where we are. But
it's Joe Cook, funnily enough, who was sent off for Dorking on the opening day of the season, who's gone in very late on Ed Francis. The referee's going to have a word with him. If this wasn't the third, fourth minute of the game,
do you think
it definitely would be a yellow card, but it is just going to be a talking to this time, as he is allowed to go back and return to his position at centre half.
I mean, just going back to the manager, the owner, that's incredible what he's doing. There'll not be many people involved with football who have gone through all that pedigree, will they?
No. I mean, he's not short of confidence. He rubs a lot of people up the wrong way. I think that's fair to say. Billy Chadwick is in behind, and I think that was meant as a cross towards Stephen Wern on the far post, but it was comfortably claimed by Harrison Mayle as Everton take the lead at Crystal Palace in the Premier League. And it's a timely moment to remind you that we've got full commentary of Newcastle United's game at Bournemouth, which is yet another 5:30 kickoff. But Matthew Raisbeck and the returning John Anderson will be with you once this game finishes here at the International Stadium, which will be at around about 5 o'clock. Dorking in possession on the edge of their own penalty area. Lovely cut inside actually from George Frankham at right back, who sends Stephen Wern sliding away from the ball, gives it to Jimmy Mewett down this right hand side. But they've gone back, and I mean, to be perfectly honest, Paul, nothing's really happened in the opening 4.5 minutes.
No, but they're just, passing the ball around the back four there and just getting a bit of confidence in the play.
They try and find Harry Ottaway in behind. He's not actually going to reach this one anyway before it goes out for a goal kick. I think there was a suspicion that he was offside as well, but that ball through overhit, and it will be a first opportunity for Archie Mayer on loan from Norwich, but he's played every single game for Gateshead this season. They haven't really got another senior goalkeeper. I mean, he's 22, he's not that senior, but they haven't got another senior goalkeeper, Gateshead.
No, No.
I think Rob Elliott might still be registered as a player, but
he might be. Yes,
he's got other duties now. As always, Louis Story definitely the backup goalkeeper
He's a keeper,
if required, as they make their way down the right hand side this time. A first touch of the game for Greg Ollie. Chadwick's come short for this one. This time is a claim for handball for Dorking against Joe Cook, but it's not come off. Greg Ollie wins the ball back, though. It's a tough challenge that dispossesses him on the edge of the Dorking penalty area as well, and Cook manages to put it out for a throw in away on that far side. Gateshead just need to build themselves and the crowd into the game a little bit here.
Oh, they do. They just be a little bit more enthusiastic from them. I think they're just hiding a little bit, just keeping things nice and tight, but the crowd want them to go and attack.
Chadwick comes short and lays it off to Regan Booty, but he's dispossessed now, and Dorking will do battle still 5 or 6 yards inside their own half, and they win a free kick, which looked relatively soft from this distance, but there are no complaints from Regan Booty, which suggests that maybe it was a foul. They've taken it nice and quickly, though, and they sweep it out to this right hand side, and George Frankham knocks it back to Harrison Mayo. Crystal Palace have equalised nice and quickly in the Premier League, so Crystal Palace 1, Everton 1. The ball is with Dan Pybus in the middle of the pitch, and it goes out on that far side for yet another Gateshead throw in. Luke Moore tried to get on the end of it, but he couldn't. Luke Moore, they've got plenty of experience in the squad. Luke Moore is one of these who's already won this division, the National League, but he won it with AFC Wimbledon back in 2011, 12 years ago, and he's been plying his trade at this kind of level. He did go up with AFC Wimbledon as well, but he's plied his trade in League 2 in the National League for a very long time. Joined from Billericay a few years ago now, but they've got the average age of the Dorking squad is well superior, let's say, to the average age
experienced
of the Gateshead
team.
squad. They very much are, even though there's a few of them have come through the divisions with them, but they have recruited fairly sensibly along the way as well. Jimmy Mewett has got the ball on this right hand side, cuts inside, but he's not given the space, so he knocks it back to Dan Gallagher, playing at centre half. I mentioned when we ran through the teams, he's the older brother of Conor Gallagher, the Chelsea and England midfielder. There's 4 of them actually in that family, all professional footballers, and now there's a bit of a time and space for Frankham on this right hand side. Finds Jimmy Mewett, who's up against Wern, cuts inside rather easily into the box. He's going all the way, he might fancy a left footed effort. He does. It's deflected high up in the air,
corner,
out for a corner. He was given a bit too much room there.
Well, he was. I mean, he's beat 1, he's beat 2, he's beat 3, and he's shaped up with his left foot. He got his shot in, but it's gone for a corner. Good run, really good run.
Yeah, good run. I mean, I don't know if Stephen Wern's done the wrong thing by showing him inside. He's shown him onto his weaker left foot, but he did put him into a more dangerous position in the middle of the penalty box. 7.5 minutes gone here, goalless between Gateshead and Dorking at the International Stadium. I'm Colin White, Paul Dixon alongside me, live on BBC Radio Newcastle. It's going to be a corner taken by George Frankham, and it's a very good opportunity for Dorking from the edge of the 6-yard box that is hooked over the crossbar in the end. It was that difficult height between a diving header and a high volley, and he went with his foot, Jimmy Mewett, and it's gone over the crossbar, thankfully, for Gateshead.
That was a real good opportunity. I think he'll be disappointed with that. I mean, the way he's kicked it with the outside of his right foot, he really should have hit it with his left foot and just passed it into the net. Good opportunity that for Dorking.
Gateshead decide to go long, and the header is won well by Conor McBride. Tries to find Billy Chadwick up front. It's well cut out though, and it'll be a Gateshead throw in midway inside the Dorking half, away on that far side, which is Gateshead's right. The layoff from Booty's just a little bit short, but Chadwick does really well to win it back again. Still 30 yards out now, but Conor McBride gets involved too. He's gone around a bit of a blind alley, but he finds space, decides not to use Kieran Lofthouse on the outside, comes back inside, edge of the penalty area, encouraged to shoot. He does shoot, but he slices it with his left foot, and it's a good few yards wide in the end. There is applause around us, Paul, but he had other options.
Well, he did. I mean, it's missed by a long way, and he should have really been looking to play 1-2s and try and get in behind them. But at least they've had a shot, Colin, haven't they? They
have indeed. That's Gateshead's first real opportunity. They had a chance in behind, but there was an offside flag, brought that one to a premature end. 9 minutes gone, and still goalless here at the International Stadium. And Gateshead have gone a couple of home games in a row without scoring, which is pretty uncommon for Gateshead in the past few seasons. But there's space for Chadwick away on that far side, tries to cut it inside to Conor McBride, but it's just intercepted, and now Dorking up towards the halfway line, controlled by Harry Ottaway, and then spread out to this right hand side. He's given Josh Taylor a bit of work to do to keep it in play, but he does. Jimmy McShane back to Mewett, and then back to George Frankham, playing at right back. He's played as a right-sided centre half the last couple of games, but he's pulled out to this right hand side for Dorking. Played in a Scottish Cup final, did George Frankham, for Hibs.
Did he?
Way back in 2012, which is another example of a player who is on the other side of 30 and has plenty of decent level experience.
Lots of experience this team have, yes, you're right.
Yeah, the long ball from Archie Mair was out towards that far right-hand side. Lofthouse didn't get there, though. It was intercepted in front of him by Niall McManus, playing at left back. And Gateshead win the throw-in and win possession back again. And they haven't really been given the opportunity. They're being forced to play in some ways, Gateshead, the way that Rob Elliott wants them to. They're not getting an awful lot of time on the ball to just sit and knock it about. But that's kind of what he wanted them to stop doing to an extent anyway. Yeah,
but I mean, Dorking have come up and they're really up for it. I mean, they mean business and they're working hard.
Yeah, they've got the ball on the edge of their own penalty area. It's Dan Gallagher who got it short and has given it straight back to the goalkeeper again. And now Dorking build on this right-hand side as Blythe go a goal down at Brackley in National League North. And Dorking try and carry it over the halfway line, and they do. It's Luke Moore out on that far side. Knocks it back. Chance for Cook to knock it up towards Harry Ottaway. They're still 40 yards from the Gateshead goal, but they're dispossessed, and now Gateshead try and work it through the middle, but they decide there isn't space, so they go back to Joe Grayson on the left-hand side of that back three, who, as I mentioned again when we went through the teams earlier, scored the own goal that started the defeat at Yeovil last weekend. But the ball is back at the feet of Archie Mair, who is in his salmon pink kit. That's exactly what it is. There's no question of what colour that is. It is definitely salmon pink from top to toe, and he's not really under any real pressure at all. He's managed to come all the way 30 yards out of his goal before he then tries to go long to Kieran Lofthouse, but it doesn't work. And Dorking win it back on the halfway line again. And there's been lots of dispossessing of the other team. Both sides working very hard, but haven't really created yet.
There's not a rhythm in the game yet. I mean, how long have we played there? What, 4?
We've 12 minutes.
12 minutes. And there's no rhythm into the game whatsoever. Both teams are giving the ball away.
They are, and this will be a Dorking free kick, 7 or 8 yards inside the Gateshead half, but away on that left-hand side for them. But George Frankham has gone all the way over to take it, so that it will be right-footed by the right back. And they've put 5 up on the edge of the box here, Dorking. It's towards the far side. It goes over Harry Ottaway's head, though, and bounces over everybody and comfortably out for a goal kick.
Bit of a waste that was. He sent them all up and he's kicked it and it's gone right over the far side out for a goal.
Yeah, and it's not even as if there wasn't a runner at the back post that there should have been. It was just an overhit delivery. It's as simple as that.
I mean, managers will not be happy with that. I mean, they've practiced all week and then they give it away like that.
They take their goal kick short this time. But this was I remember this problem when Altrincham were here. Dorking just sort of stand still and say to Gateshead, right, well, we've covered the space, so what are you going to do with the ball? And then they play themselves into trouble, Gateshead, and the cross from the right-hand side is a deep one that may well go out for a goal kick on the far side as well. It is going to be kept in and it's a throw-in. But Dorking just stand there and say to Gateshead, right, we've filled the space, what are you going to do? And Gateshead don't necessarily know what to do yet.
No, for me, looking at them after the first 15 minutes of coming up to here, they need to work a little bit harder and try and get the ball back off Dorking and then take the game to them. At the minute, they're just sitting in and Dorking's taking the game to them.
It's a throw-in deep in their own half. The Gateshead Richardson goes very long towards McBride, who hooks it over his head for Chadwick, who is well tackled on that far side. It's a concession of a throw-in for Dorking, but they've stopped the ball going any further. Dan Gallagher with that challenge, and now a really long throw that might get Chadwick in behind Gallagher. He does, he wins the ball, but he's forced out wide on that right-hand side. He's done well to hold it up, though. Got Lofthouse for company, but it comes off their wing back and it goes out for a throw-in, and again, that's a little bit of a waste too.
Just needs to be a little bit more energy in that play, I would say, Colin. You know, just to let Dorking know, look, we're at home, right? The crowd's behind us, and we want to take you on. It's just a bit slow at the minute.
It is, and a bit more movement off the ball as well, because the man on the ball is having to second guess what others might do, or try and force something with the pass and make the run, rather than the two things happening the other way around. And yeah, Gateshead have also given away a free kick. Greg Ollie just clipping the heels.
Plus the crowd they want to be part of the game. They want to be excited, don't they? You know.
Yeah, and they've not had a huge amount to cheer, as we mentioned. The last couple of home games as well. The defeat by Altrincham here 2-0 when you and I were here, and then the 4-0 defeat, which almost everybody at the club insists wasn't as bad as the 4-0 scoreline suggests, but it was still a defeat by 4-0.
It was.
At home. Ottaway wins a big header at the far post, but it's cleared by Richardson high up into the air towards the centre circle. Dorking win the second ball. Ottaway out on this right hand side, controls it on his chest under pressure from Stephen Wern, but he's got it back to Mewett. He goes all the way back to George Frankham inside his own half. They've got a fair bit of height about them as well.
Well, they have, and they won some good headers early on, they have, especially up front.
Yeah, I mean, this is me trying to cover my own back here, but it feels like a very fluid system that Dorking are playing, because you've got different people popping up in different positions all the time. George Frankham is definitely playing right back because he's right down in front of us, but Jimmy Mewett comes and gets it under, again, real pressure from Stephen Wern in front of the Dorking dugout, but they go back. It's not the easiest of passes back to Harrison Mayo, but he does well to control it, and out they go to the left hand side again, and they've played through Gateshead's slightly half-hearted press quite easily there. But a slip from Dorking might give Gateshead an opportunity. Ollie makes the run in beyond Conor McBride. The ball to him was a bit short, though. He's got it. He's given it to Booty on that far side. He tries to cross it towards Wern on this near post, but it's chested back. And a bit of confusion inside their own penalty area. Dorking nearly creating their own issues. It should have been chested back to the goalkeeper. And Joe Cook panicked a little bit, stuck his foot in the way of it, and took it away from his goalkeeper, but they did complete the clearance anyway. Gateshead just don't quite look like they know what their teammates are going to do.
That's right. You're right. I mean, they could have nipped in and getting something there. I mean, it was a mistake by the fullback. But you're right. Need a bit more energy in the player, I would say.
Yeah, they are missing Marcus Denanga. A reminder that
very much are.
Not just for him literally putting the ball in the back of the net, but his movement as well,
and his work rate up
causing defenders problems, giving them things to think about all the time. Gateshead concede possession inside the centre circle, but then win it back again. It's a good challenge then there from Ed Francis that nicks the ball off Harry Ottaway's toes, and it goes back to Archie Mayer in goal. Gives it short to Louis Story. Conor McBride came short for that. It's back with Story though on the edge of his own penalty area, and back to Archie Mayer again. And again, that just gives Dorking. I feel like we're moaning.
And they get organised. Yes,
they're doing well. They're doing what Altrincham came here and did as well. Being very organised, and I know we've only played 17 minutes of this game. This one is long towards McBride, who couldn't quite control it well enough, and it's nicked off his toes by Gallagher, and he'll keep it in by the corner flag as well. It's not a good clearance by Gallagher, but he fortuitously finds a teammate, and then Dorking make a mess of the second clearance as well. And all that happened was Gateshead got in behind, but suddenly the crowd are going, oh, hang on, we've got something to cheer again.
And they want a bit more of that, don't they? Yeah. But the movement's got to come from the front three. It has, really.
Grayson takes the throw in on the halfway line, but goes back to Louis Story and then back to Archie Mayer again. I'm not absolutely sure where Rob Elliott is watching this game from. When I spoke to him yesterday, he thought he was allowed in the stands, he said, but he thought he might go in one of the conference suites at the back because it gives him a better view, and he didn't say this, but it's also a lot warmer for him as well.
You do get a real good panoramic view, as you would say, of the match, you know.
You do indeed.
And who's working and who's not running,
and as is always the way, he's not formally allowed to communicate with the dressing room, but he only has to talk to somebody who can talk to somebody else who's heard a whisper that this is what Rob Elliott wants, and I'm sure messages will be passed on one way or another.
Well, he'd be pleased they've made a solid start, you know.
Yeah.
They haven't given anything away, and can they build on that? Well, they need to.
They've given away a couple of half chances, but as we mentioned, and I know we had this conversation earlier on as well, they've conceded early goals in the last couple of games. They haven't done that in the opening 18 minutes so far, which counts as a positive. Good work from Chadwick. The run from Ollie was the overlapping one into the box, back towards Chadwick again. He pokes it towards goal, and Gateshead have the opening goal of the game. Billy Chadwick has his second for the club, and Gateshead lead Dorking Wanderers by 1-0. It's their first decent move forward that has come off. Greg Ollie made the run in behind, controlled it on that far side, down by the byline, laid it back off again to Billy Chadwick, who'd given it to him in the first place. It was a toe poke, but it was an accurate toe poke, and he's found the bottom left-hand corner. Gateshead lead 1-0.
Great stuff by Greg Ollie, the captain there. Great movement, and then when he's got on the ball, he's just played it lovely into the box, into the path of Chadwick, and he's actually toe poked it into the goal, into the doesn't matter how they go in, but he's toe poked it into the corner of the net. Just the start Gateshead won. That'll relax him, but brilliant play by Greg Ollie.
It was terrific. Billy Chadwick on loan from Stockport this season. Like I say, he's made a good number of substitute appearances. I think 11 substitute appearances, but this only his second start. But he will be very, very pleased to have got himself on the score sheet. And we were praising Gateshead, which sounded a little bit patronising, but praising them for not having conceded early on. They've gone one better than that and scored the opening goal. Live here on BBC Radio Newcastle, it is Gateshead 1, Dorking Wanderers 0. Paul Dixon.
Well, you can feel the crowd now. It's like, wow, we're in front. I'm sure Rob, wherever he's sitting, Rob Elliott, will be quite pleased as well. Be taking a few nice deep breaths. But it's a great start for them, it is. It
is indeed. Archie Mayor's got the ball just inside his own penalty area, and there is a bit of a standoff with him and Harry Ottaway, and he's just waiting as long as he possibly can before he picks the ball up. Harry Ottaway doesn't want to be out of position. Puts it back down again and is forced to kick it quickly, and that was all a bit stop-starty for the Gateshead goalkeeper, and he goes long towards Lofthouse. They're aiming lots of cross-field passes towards Kieran Lofthouse, who's playing as the right wing-back.
Yep.
He is tall and he wins some headers, but the balls to him are quite difficult.
Well, they are, but I mean, and Ollie's out there to help him as well, Just going back to the goal there, Colin, I mean, Chadwick, he didn't have much time. The ball was at his feet, and he had to react quick, and he did toe poke it into the corner. It was very sharp in the box.
Yes, and he had started that move as well, or at least it was him who'd given the ball to Ollie and kept his run going as well. It was exactly the movement that we've been wanting for the last few minutes. Chadwick nearly in behind again. The ball just under hit though by Ed Francis, and then Lofthouse nicks it off the defender's toes on the far side, but can't keep it in play, and it will be Joe Cook to take the throw-in on the far side. And this is a test for Dorking now as well, because they've lost 4 of the last 5 games and have got a system that they set up in, and it doesn't necessarily accommodate going a goal behind, because it forces them to do something different, and they all know their jobs.
Well, that's right, and I mean they'll need to show a lot of character and determination to take the game to Gateshead, especially with the fans here now are up for it, aren't they?
That is given as a free kick. Stephen Worm pushing George Frankham over right in front of us. The referee, to give him a name check, is Andrew Miller, who's been a referee at this level for a very long time. Actually, the last twice that he refereed here, he sent a man off each time, but that was 2017 and 2018. Tom White was a Gateshead player who was sent off the last time he was here, so that tells you how long ago it was.
I remember him. Tom White was a good player.
Yes, he was indeed, and now playing his trade at Barrow in League 2 is Tom White. He's been there for a couple of years, as Harrison Mail is closed down quickly by Conor McBride, and then it was very nearly given away to Stephen Wern, and that would have been a 3-on-1 for Gateshead, but they've got a little bit lucky with the deflection, and Dorking will keep possession inside their own half. But it's just got Gateshead's tails up a little bit, that goal as well, and even in the last 30 seconds the pressing's a bit sharper, the closing down of the opposition's a bit sharper, and they very nearly got something out of it. Well,
that's what goals do, don't they? They excite you, on and off the pitch, and they're working a lot harder now, Gateshead.
Dorking have the ball on the halfway line. They go back to Dan Gallagher. The sun is creeping further over towards it's creeping further towards us, so more of the pitch is now in shade, and eventually we're all going to get very cold. But Jimmy Mewett down this right hand side gets past Regan Booty rather easily. He's got Frankham on the overlap. His cross towards the penalty spot is headed comfortably clear by Lofthouse, and McBride just completes the clearance as well up towards Chadwick, who couldn't get there though ahead of Luke Moore, and Dorking back in possession again. Gateshead just switched off a little bit on their left hand side, and suddenly Dorking had space.
Yeah, well, they did, and they got in, didn't they? I mean, it was a bad cross into the box, really. Yeah. Should have done better.
He is pretty much ploughing a lone furrow up there, is Harry Ottaway. But there's plenty of... He's got a good bit of physicality about him. He moves well too, but he's not been given some particularly good service in the opening 23 minutes. We've gone beyond the quarter point of this game. Gateshead leading by a 1-0. That goal from Billy Chadwick a couple of minutes ago. And as they continue their search for their first win under a new manager, Rob Elliott, Dan Pybus picks the ball up in the centre circle, former Sunderland youngster, and then finds space on that left hand side. They try and square it towards McShane on the edge of the box. He does lay it off, but it's loose towards Luke Moore, and Gateshead might have an opportunity to break here. Ollie lays it off. Lovely little nutmeg from Billy Chadwick as well in the centre circle, and then McBride gets involved to send Lofthouse down the right hand side, and Chadwick as well. He's got Lofthouse on the overlap. Lofthouse into the penalty area, cuts back on his left foot, and just a yard wide. He just caught the ball less cleanly than he wanted to, dragged it wide of what was his near post, but a terrific move from Gateshead.
Great move down the right there. It was good football. They were well in control of that. And it's on his left foot. He should have been looking to bend it into the far corner. He's gone for the near post and really, even if the keeper had to push it out, there was players running in. But excellent move. That's more like it from Gateshead. It
is, and it's. I don't want to say it sprang out of nothing, but Ollie had the ball in the centre circle, and it's not as if they broke forward with 5 or 6 men. It was just the 2 or 3 of them that knew where to play the ball and knew the movement that a couple of their teammates were going to make, and it made for a very good move down that right hand side.
That's the football Gateshead can play, and we want to see more of that. But no, that was good played. Could have been 2-0 that.
Could easily have been 2-0, but Gateshead would quite satisfied with their 1-0 lead so far. Dorking in possession on the edge of their own penalty area through Dan Gallagher. James McShane comes short for it now as well. Goes long to find Jimmy Mewett down by the right hand wing, and he does well actually to keep that ball in play. All he could do though was play it into the hands of Archie Mayer, but again it's Dorking's right hand side. We've just seen Gateshead with a terrific move down the right, and that's where the goal came from.
This is where they're getting in here.
This is where Dorking are getting in down this side, near side. And Archie Mayer is going to have a standoff with a couple of the Dorking players again as he puts the ball down very, very slowly. But they do decide to close him down this time. Ollie with a lovely nutmeg inside the centre circle. He's got 3 in front of him here to aim for. He's going to play in Regan Billy Chadwick on the far side, but it's overhit, so it doesn't really matter. He does well to keep it in play though, but the momentum's gone a little bit. He's got Lofthouse for company on the right hand side, corner of the penalty area. And works his way inwards on the left, but lays it off. Joe Grayson thought about a shot, lays in Stephen Wern instead, who now makes it 2-0 to Gateshead. There is no offside flag despite the Dorking protests, and it is going to be a second goal for Gateshead. 26 minutes gone. Stephen Wern in behind. He did well to finish it under a bit of pressure as Harrison Mail came out to close him down, but he slots it home. 2-0 Gateshead.
And what a finish it was. I mean, he's a terrific finisher. I would have had me house on him there, with him being through on goal. He took his time, he looked and just passed it into the corner of the net. Wonderful play, and that's just what they wanted, and that's what the fan wanted. 2-0, 26 minutes, great start for Gateshead.
A terrifically timed run, just like Greg Oley did for the first goal. Stephen Warren did it for the second. And the ball through to him. Billy Chadwick actually did well to keep it in play on that far side, because the ball through to him, which was a better opportunity from Greg Oley, was overhit, but Chadwick kept it in play on that far side, laid it off, and then Lofthouse found that run of Stephen Wern, who played the offside trap beautifully.
Clinical, wasn't it? Really clinical finish.
And a neat finish from probably only 8-9 yards out at most by the time he got it past the goalkeeper. But Gateshead lead by 2-0, and Greg Oley said to me yesterday that he felt that if they started a game well, they could really hammer a team. Now, they are only 2-0 up. There is still a long way to go. But if their accuracy is anything like what it's been in the last 10 minutes for the rest of this game, this could be it. This could be a game where they really do put a team to the sword.
Well, Ollie's been sensational early on, hasn't he? Really, some of the passes and the nutmeg in the midfield there was terrific.
Grayson's clearance is not a great one. It's picked up by Frankham on this right-hand side for Dorking. Midway inside the Gateshead half, it's laid off, and Pybus finds Moore. They work it out to that left-hand side now instead. He's got McManus for company, but comes back inside again. Dan Pybus, South Shields lad, 40 yards out. It's laid off by Mewett. They were claiming for a foul, Dorking, but they don't mind because they've got the ball back again, and it's out with McManus on that far side. Up against Lofthouse, down towards the byline. Lofthouse challenges him and gets the ball to nick back off the Dorking player as well, and it is going to be a goal kick.
We've got our cans on here, but we can still hear the Gateshead fans getting behind the team, and that's terrific. 2-0 early on, and I mean, Rob Elliott, the manager in charge at the minute, is sitting somewhere in the stadium. He'll be quite pleased.
He will indeed, and this goal kick, well, the referee's still having a little word with Jimmy Mewett in the middle of midfield, who's having a moan, but they are eventually going to take this goal kick now.
I had, when Warren scored there, I had a quick look at the linesman to see if the flag was going to go up.
I did too.
Yeah, but it didn't go up, and he just kept his cool, and brilliant finish.
Yeah, terrific finish, and let's assume he wasn't offside and give him credit for the timing of the run as well. Archie Mayer goes long. Ollie's made a run in behind here, and if he controls it well on the edge of the box, what he does, he's just outnumbered, but it breaks to Lofthouse on that far side. His cross is towards Chadwick. Goalkeeper comes and claims that one quite comfortably, and now they'll try and break quickly on this right hand side. It's Jimmy Newitt across the halfway line. He's got 3 players in front of him as well for Dorking. He goes square to Luke Moore inside the centre circle, but he in turn has got 3 in front of him. He'll give it back to Newitt wide on this right hand side. He's got an overlap coming from George Frankham, but he cuts inside, goes back to the outside again. Frankham level with the edge of the box for Dorking. Back towards Frankham, and just run out of steam a little bit, and Josh Taylor it is who's picked it up, gives it to Gallagher inside the centre circle, back out to Taylor on this right hand side. He's the 3rd player in about 5 minutes who's popped up in this right back position. They interchange really nicely, Dorking. They've got nothing to show for it obviously at the moment, but they know that if anyone is out of position, they cover across very well. Wonderful run from Greg Ollie through the middle. It was route 1 straight over the top from Archie Mayer, but his control on the edge of the box was good as well. As Dorking try and get in behind here, I'll come back to you in a minute, Paul. Ottaway has got the ball inside the D, but he's got 5 or so defenders. Stephen Warren just blocks the ball through, and Gateshead don't clear it properly. It's picked back up again by Ottaway on the right hand side of this, goes through the legs of Stephen Warren, but Gateshead just have too many players in the way, and they tried to go right through the middle of them, Dorking, which didn't work. Stephen Warren knocks it long down the left wing.
Good defending again there from Gateshead. They were back in numbers and really solid.
Yeah, because Dorking broke with numbers, so that long ball with Ollie controlled on the edge of the box didn't come to anything. Lofthouse cross was claimed comfortably by the goalkeeper. Dorking broke, but they didn't have space to break into because Gateshead had got themselves back pretty quickly as we go past the half-hour mark, and Gateshead lead by 2-0 here at the International Stadium. Billy Chadwick and Stephen Warren. It's
been a quick half hour, I think.
It absolutely has.
Pretty quick. I'm delighted that they've gotten the goals, though. I mean, everybody before the game, it's a must-win. I mean, they're winning 2-0 now. Hopefully they can take this on. I mean,
it is, and we might talk about this through the second half a little bit more, because they're still, even at the start of play today, 8th in the division, a point off the playoffs. It's not a bad position to be in.
It's a great position.
I know they've lost the last 2 home games and not scored in either of them and lost away in the FA Cup, but, you know, it's not a disaster here by any stretch.
Not at all. No, it's not. But it's because the standards have been high when Mike was here, and they were winning games and playing wonderful football.
Regan Booty intercepts on the halfway line, gives it square to McBride, who tries to find Chadwick in behind here, cuts back on his right foot on the edge of the box. He's got 2 to get through. He does. It's lovely football. It's a brilliant goal from Billy Chadwick. It's 3-0 to Gateshead after just over half an hour. That one was a brilliant solo effort. He was static inside the penalty area with 2 men in front of him. He just poked it between them, ran round the outside, left them both for dead, slotted it past the goalkeeper. Terrific finish. 3-0 Gateshead.
Well, that was a brilliant piece of skill. I mean, he had 2 defenders to beat on the edge of the box. Fast feet. Remind me a little bit what Peter Beardsley used to do with them fast feet. And he's in on goal. And he looked as though he's going to hit to the far corner, hit it to the near post. Keeper wasn't ready. Wonderful finish.
Terrific finish. Terrific 15-minute spell for Gateshead. Less than that, really. That's 3 goals in less than 10 minutes at the International Stadium. Gateshead now leading Dorking by 3-0. It's one of those goals as a goalkeeper you're furious because you're beaten at the near post, but he was just deceived by Billy Chadwick. He believed he was going to go across him and aim for the far post, and he just forced him to have his weight the wrong way, and then found the near corner as well. A lovely finish from Billy Chadwick, and Gateshead lead comfortably, Paul.
Well, that was a real top-notch piece of skill, and I mean the fans here today can go home and say we've seen a little bit of magic. I mean his movement, his feet, and then to get through and then finish, because you could easily do that and then hit it high over the bar or past the post, but that was everyone was up on their feet, including us.
Indeed, and that is 3 for the season now for Billy Chadwick, and we've just got a stoppage in play because as James McShane made a challenge which was a foul on Joe Grayson. I think he might just hurt himself in the process, but we're all back up and going again.
And you know, Cole, when we look at the chances in the first half, Gateshead have had about 4 and they've scored 3 goals. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think Harrison Mayle has made a save. He's picked the ball out of the net 3 times, and none of them particularly his fault. I'm not having a go at him. I just don't think he's made a save. Chadwick is in behind you, and he was onside. And on the left-hand side of the penalty area, Billy Chadwick with a chance for his hat-trick. He might lay it off instead. He does. It's deflected, and it's out for a corner. And Conor McBride was nearly in on the act there too. And Gateshead are going for the jugular, Paul.
Well, yeah, but great movement again from I mean, you know, he just left them for dead, the defenders, and there's some confidence. And goals change games, and the confidence there in Gateshead now is all there to see. I mean, you're right. I mean, you were talking about Greg Ollie saying we could hammer somebody very soon, but 3-0, this could be it.
Indeed, we hope it is. I mean, 3-0 is... people talk about 2-0 being an awkward sort of lead. 3-0 just gives you much more of a buffer. But it is a Gateshead corner as well that Ed Francis will take. First corner of the game, left-footed towards the edge of the box, and it's headed goalwards by Regan Booty, but he just got too much of a glance on it. Not enough solid contact, and it's gone out for a goal kick. But a good run, and he found space. Oh,
I do. It was good. It was good space that he found. You're right. I mean, he'd be probably a little bit disappointed that he didn't hit the target.
A lovely run from the edge of the box. I said the edge of the box, which is where he ran from. He got his header almost in the 6-yard line, but not to be. But Gateshead very comfortable. 3-0 up after just over half an hour. We've now played 35 minutes. Live here on BBC Radio Newcastle. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. This is the middle of 3 commentaries earlier. Sunderland beat Birmingham by 3-1. And Newcastle are at Bournemouth later on. Matthew Raisbeck and John Anderson with us from 5 o'clock. Once this game has finished here. And for Dorking, the first half probably can't finish quickly enough to get themselves in and have a chat and have a bit of a regroup, because they were very much in the game at 0-0. They weren't being dominated. They had, they were finding pockets of space here and there.
Comfortable.
And have barely touched the ball in the last 12 minutes because Gateshead have just hit them with 3 goals in pretty quick succession.
And, before the game, we're talking about, will they miss Marcus Denanga? Yes, they will. But Billy's just stepped up and he's done the business today, hasn't he?
He certainly has so far. We've got just under 10 minutes to go until half-time. Dorking with the ball on the halfway line. Dan Pybus carries it over the halfway line. McManus out on that left-hand side, hugging the touchline with his yellow boots. But it comes back because there's no space for it to go forward, so it comes all the way back to Mail in goal. And they'll try it on this right-hand side instead with Josh Taylor. It's lovely feet actually from him to get past Conor McBride, but it's nicked off his toes by Stephen Wern, and it's a throw-in now on this near side that Taylor will take again on the halfway line. And I think that Dorking are going to make a change here, because one of their coaching staff has just gone and handed a bit of paper to the 4th official, and I think they might make a change here.
Yeah, before half-time.
Even before half-time, yes. As they cross the halfway line with the ball, goes back to Pybus again on the edge of the centre circle. Comes square out to Frankham on this near side. He's got Jimmy Mewett on this right-hand touchline as well. He finds him up against Stephen Wern, but back to Frankham again. They want to cross the ball there. The 4 men across the edge of the penalty box want the ball crossed in. Mewett goes down towards the byline, does get that cross in. It's volley towards goal, and it's only a couple of feet wide of that far post.
Yeah, it was a good ball in. I mean, he's volleyed it with his right foot, but it hit the top of his thigh and went past the post. Really, I mean, it's 3-0. I'm sure, I'm sure they'd like to be going in at half-time with the 3-0 lead.
Yeah, it's Tony Craig, I think, who's going to come on. I have a feeling it's Tony Craig for Joe Cook. So I can just see the numbers on the board before the officials actually raised them, which would be it'd be like for like as defender. So unless they switch something drastic, then it looks like this might be an enforced one rather than a tactical one. But Billy Chadwick given another ball to chase away on that right hand side this time, puts Dan Gallagher under all sorts of pressure, who cannot keep it in play, and Billy Chadwick wins a throw in 10 yards from the corner flag.
I haven't seen a lot of Billy Chadwick before, but he makes some terrific runs, doesn't he? And he puts the defenders, and then all of a sudden he pops up in positions when he's in on his own. Yes,
and as we've seen twice, has composure when he's in the right place as well.
Very much so.
Lofthouse will take that throw in away from the far side in front of the floodlights, which are already on. They've been on already for most of this game. Back to McBride, and then round the corner to Lofthouse again. It took a deflection, so he might be happy, but it's not going to run out for a corner, so he's forced to go back to Ollie again. Still level with the edge of the box though, pokes it inside. Booty lays it off. Lofthouse just not quite enough space for a shot. Ed Francis neither, but they've worked it well. Out to Stephen Wern, left hand edge of the box, couple of step overs, back onto his right foot, squares to Ollie, lays it off to Francis. It's just wide of Regan Booty, but they've kept possession over the top towards Lofthouse. McBride can't get there though, and Dorking clear it, but not very far, so Francis picks it up again, and Greg Ollie, the captain, on this left hand touchline, knocks it back, and then over the top from Regan Booty. That one's a bit ambitious though, and it's going to go out for a goal kick. But you can try that sort of thing when you're 3-0 up.
You can, and I mean the football was like it was like a training session on a Monday morning, wasn't it? Pass. Terrific football, it really was.
They are making that change, Gateshead, and
Dorking.
Dorking, sorry,
yeah.
and it is going to be
Joe Cook off. Is it?
Joe Cook comes off, but he doesn't know anything about it yet. So this is, after all that I've said, it is a tactical one because he's clearly not injured in any way.
Tony Craig on
as he jogs off from away on the left-hand side, who's playing as a left back really, all the way to this near side. He's replaced by Tony Craig, who becomes the oldest man on the pitch at 38. And I'm intrigued by that one. So there's a bit of a change because they've shuffled up the back four as well. So George Frankham, who was right back, has now gone out to left back because Tony Craig is an out and out, and I keep saying it, 38-year-old centre half. That's where he plays, and he's now going to be accompanied, I think, in the middle of that back four, possibly by Dan Pybus. We'll have a look in a minute.
A lot of Gateshead player though has come down that side, and the managers might have said, look at this lad having a torrid time, which he is, because I mean the goals have come more or less from that side, haven't they? You know, they
have. Billy Chadwick's got pace. I'm interested to see how much pace a 38-year-old central defender has got against him, but that will come in time. As Gateshead have the ball on the halfway line. Joe Grayson just forced inside, a little bit short, but Francis goes over the top. Warren is in behind here, can't quite control it on his chest, so he's forced out towards the byline by Gallagher, but he goes inside quickly. Billy Chadwick inside the box, back out to Warren again, lays it off. McBride still on this left hand side, there's an overload. Ollie lays it off. Stephen Warren tries to get an effort away, he has his feet taken away. Ollie with space for a shot, lays it off to Chadwick. None of them want to shoot, they all should have had an effort on goal, and Dorking clear it. That's overplaying, Paul.
No, you have it. You have it. For somebody to have a shot at goal, I think Warren was looking for a penalty, wasn't he?
He was, but Louis Story's come all the way up to the edge of the box. McBride lays it off. Story's in behind, back heel. Conor McBride, good save from Harrison Mayle. It's wonderful football from Gateshead.
Brilliant, and that was Louis Story from the back there, flicking and passing 1-2s in the box.
They try and break quickly, actually, Dorking down this right-hand side. So over the halfway line goes Josh Taylor. He's just bounced off it by Regan Booty, and it is going to be a free kick, but it's a clever foul to give away. We've only got 3.5 minutes until half-time, Paul.
There's a bit of arrogance round the box, isn't there, now, with our passing, but Greg Ollie's involved with a little touch here, a little ball there, lovely weighted pass. It's when they go forward, they're exciting.
Yeah, and in some ways, I know we're laughing because they passed up opportunities, but they didn't want to waste it because they knew a teammate might be in a better place.
Well, that's right.
Got the ball on the edge of the box. It's clipped by Pybus towards Ottaway at the back post. Lofthouse wins a header, but it breaks for Gallagher, whose shot is well blocked by Kenton Richardson, and they let it go out for a throw-in on the far side. And Dorking, there's still moments for Dorking. And it helps that Gateshead are 3 goals to the good, but there are still little moments here or there.
Well, that's right. I mean, they've got to keep it tight at the back, and I would think, Louis Story, who's on the management team, and Rob sitting in the stand, they'll want a clean sheet. They're defenders, and that's what they like.
Josh Taylor takes this throw in long from the left-hand side towards the edge of the 6-yard box, but Kenton Richardson rises highest, heads it clear, and Gateshead will have an opportunity to just get out from the edge of their own penalty area. But Dorking have won the ball back again. Harry Ottaway away on that left wing. Thought about a cross but changed his mind, goes back, finds McManus, neat feet to get inside. Luke Moore, edge of the centre circle, but Dorking have got 6 players in front of him as well, and they go back out to that left hand side, but the cross is charged down. It still breaks the way of Pybus, who thought about the shot. Luke Moore closed down very well in the edge of the Gateshead penalty area, and now they can clear. Stephen Warren over the halfway line on this left wing, but it was actually quite well covered by Dorking and by Jimmy Mewett, so they're forced back to Louis Story in the middle of his own half, and back to Archie Mayer. 2 minutes to go until the end of this first half, and Gateshead lead by 3 goals to nil. 3 goals in 9 minutes. Billy Chadwick either side, scoring twice either side of Stephen Warrens in the middle, and Gateshead very much on course for their first win under new manager Rob Elliott.
I think Rob will be delighted what he's seen in the first half. The first 15 minutes was, back and forward, but then after that they've just been sensational. Look at that.
Fabulous turn inside the centre circle from Chadwick. His ball's just under hit as McBride tried to go in behind. But we'll come back to, once this move finishes and the ball goes out of play, we're going to come back to the way that move started. But Francis wins the ball again inside the centre circle, but Dorking just have the numbers That came from Archie Mayer, and he had a few options, didn't fancy any of them, so he played it low and hard along the ground into Billy Chadwick in the centre circle, right through the middle of the pitch, but along the ground, passed it neatly rather than just cleared it. Lovely turn from Chadwick, and all of a sudden, if he'd put 3 or 4 yards of more pace on the ball, 3 touches, and Gateshead would have been in behind.
Well, great play from the goalkeeper and from Chadwick. Terrific stuff.
Luke Moore spreads it out to Jimmy Mute's got a lot of space on this right hand side, gets himself into the box, his cross is wildly overhit though, it's going to go out for a throw in on the far side, and he can gesticulate all he likes, Jimmy Mute, at his teammates not being...
It was a bad cross.
It was a poor cross. Right. It was badly overhit, unfortunately for him.
It was.
And Gateshead go into the last 30 seconds of this first half with a 3-goal lead.
Well, I think we've seen enough in 45 minutes to realise, you've mentioned about, that 8 at the minute, that top 6 material on this first half performance, the really, all right, Dorking are there to be beat, but the clinical finishing just tells me that they've got something that can keep them up the top of the league.
Yeah, and without looking too far ahead, you and I are going down to Barnet for full commentary next Saturday.
Yeah.
That will be a different proposition.
It will.
But still plenty of time left here. We're going to have 2 minutes of injury time at the end of the first half. But Gateshead have won it back. It's 3 minutes. He's changed his mind. It's 3 minutes of half time. But Stephen Warren's in behind. It might be 4-0 here. No, it's well blocked by Dan Gallagher. They've still got the ball though on the left hand edge of the box. Billy Chadwick lays it off again to Regan Booty. He ignores Greg Ollie, goes square to McBride again, 30 yards out. They shoot. It wasn't a shooting opportunity, this one, but a lovely turn back from Louis Story just buys himself a bit of time. Square to Booty. It's a bit of an ambitious first time one, that, and it's a push in the back. It's a silly push in the back from Louis Story, and it's all rather ended with a free kick to Dorking on the edge of their own penalty area. So yeah, just confirmation again, 3 minutes of injury time, and we've played one of them.
Is Rob allowed in the dressing room at half time?
I don't believe he is.
Right.
I think his ban from certain areas that includes the dressing room starts before the game, and he obviously covers half time, and I don't know what time it ends at full time, but my understanding is that no, he's not allowed inside the dressing room at half time. So
I'm sure he would like to be.
I'm sure he would, but only to praise his players and
Correct.
to say that's exactly what I wanted, because he talked in the interview, and in other interviews as well, but particularly in the one that we did with him, and he said, I want a little bit more oomph up front. I want to get forward a bit quicker and take chance, be a bit more dynamic, was what he said. Well, they had a very dynamic 9-minute spell here. Stephen Warren straight through the middle now, finds Chadwick, cuts in from the right hand side. Lovely footwork again to find Warren, left hand edge of the penalty area, up against Gallagher, goes towards the outside, fires it straight at Harrison Mayo. Gateshead ending the half strongly, and since they took the lead, Paul, 23 minutes, so halfway through the first half,
they've been sensational.
They've looked a completely different side.
Correct. I mean, if you said to me the first 15 minutes, what do you think? Well, it's not exciting, they're not working hard or whatever, but then the last half hour, they've been incredible. I mean, Warren and Chadwick have been sensational, unplayable at times.
Both of them have been genuinely unplayable, and Dorking will probably have the last move of this first half. Gallagher on the right hand side, square to Pybus, and then back to Tony Craig, who had 4 separate spells at Millwall, played about 300 odd games in total for them, more than that actually, yes. Yeah. At a high level, including Championship and League One level, so he's got plenty of experience, and is now, as I keep mentioning, 38. Lovely layoff from Stephen Warren on the halfway line towards Regan Booty, but Chadwick just brings it backwards again. But again, if you're 3-0 up last minute of the first half, there's nothing wrong with doing that and just seeing the game out for the moment. Grayson goes all the way back to Archie Mayer, away to our right hand side, who again hasn't had a save to make, but they've had their efforts, Dorking. It's not been absolute one-way traffic, it's that Gateshead have been very clinical.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, the chances they've had, there's a half-time whistle. Terrific first half.
Absolutely brilliant first half. Or brilliant second half of the first half is maybe a more accurate way to sum it up, actually, because the opening 20 minutes, we and the supporters getting a little bit frustrated with Gateshead, because it was the same as it's been for the last few weeks, with just not really being incisive enough, having the ball but not knowing what to do with it, and that link-up play just not coming off. And then all of a sudden, the game changed completely. Billy Chadwick getting onto a ball from Greg Ollie on the right-hand side. He'd actually started the move, Billy Chadwick, as well. Ollie kept it in by the byline, laid it off again, and then it was toe-poked by Billy Chadwick in the most accurate way possible. He found the bottom left-hand corner. That was after 23 minutes, and then Stephen Warren sprung the offside trap 3 minutes later to get on the end of a through ball and slotted it past the goalkeeper from 6 or 7 yards out. It was 2-0 with 2 goals in 3 minutes, and then it was 3-0 with 3 goals in 9 minutes, because Billy Chadwick from this left-hand side, the opposite side he'd scored his first one from, lovely neat footwork to get past 2 separate defenders from a standing start inside the box, and then bamboozled the goalkeeper as well and knocked it just inside the near post. A terrific individual finish, which means that at half-time Gateshead lead by 3-0, Paul, and it's been a half of 2 halves.
Well, it has, but I've really enjoyed the second half of the good half, as you would say. But Stephen Warren, Greg Ollie and Billy Chadwick have just been, for the last half hour, have played some incredible football at the level that they're playing at. And it's been superb, and I've really, really enjoyed that player. And I think that there's more to come. I mean, we've talked about, Rob Elliott. I mean, people saying, got to win it here. But I mean, they're winning 3-0, and, they shouldn't get beat. But the performance and the talent that's on show out there, especially from them three, it's been brilliant, Colin.
And I'm almost tempted to sum up by saying, well, that's more like it. Because we've known they're as good as that. Gateshead playing this well isn't a massive shock. We're not suddenly going, oh goodness, they have got some good footballers. We knew that. They just went through a spell of not showing it. But before that 4 or 5 game run that really started with the defeat here when we were here at home to Altrincham, they've played really good football tail end of last season. They played really good football at the start of this season. This is just them getting back to normal rather than really raising their game.
Well, I would agree with that, but it's about, as well as anybody will tell you in football, when you get chances in front of goal, you've got to take your chances, and the lads have took their chances today. Terrific goals they've scored this afternoon. And if you said they had lots of chances, no, they haven't. They've had about 5, and many they've scored 3.
And that is the reason that at half-time here at the International Stadium, live on BBC Radio in Newcastle, I'm Colin White and Paul Dixon, and the half-time score here is Gateshead 3, Dorking Wanderers 0.
Hi, I'm Rob Burrow, and I've got some exciting news. I'm hosting my own podcast, the first of its kind, presented by someone who speaks using an eye gazing machine. It's a chance for me to showcase my personality and have some fun. The podcast is called 7 because that's the number I wore on my Leeds Rhino shirt.
Rob Burrow's got the pace. He'll dive underneath the post.
I'll interview 7 sporting legends and ask them 7 questions. And I'm delighted to announce we've got some really big sports stars involved, like the incredible footballer and manager Wayne Rooney. It's going to be great, so make sure you subscribe to my podcast series 7, available on the Total Sport podcast on BBC Sounds.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Dominic James back in the BBC Radio Newcastle studio. Thank you to Colin White and to Paul Dixon. Gateshead 3, Dorking 0 at half time. Billy Chadwick with a brace. Stephen Wern also on the score sheet. Back to the International Stadium shortly then for second half commentary. Let's just run through some of the other results today. We'll begin in the Premier League in the early kickoff. Wolves beat Tottenham by 2-1 at the Emirates. Arsenal are leading Burnley 1-0. Still playing at Sellers Park, it's Crystal Palace 1, Everton 1, and at Old Trafford it's Manchester United 0, Luton 0, and of course the late kickoff in the Premier League today, it's Bournemouth versus Newcastle. We'll preview that one shortly.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Into the Championship, the early kickoff, Sunderland beating Birmingham City 3-1. We'll get some post-match reaction from Tony Mowbray in just a moment. To the 3 o'clock kickoffs then, and it's Cardiff 2, Norwich 1. Goalless between Coventry and Stoke City. Hull and Huddersfield also goalless. Ipswich 2-1 up over Swansea. Leeds winning 2-0 2-0 over Plymouth. It's goalless between Middlesbrough and Leicester at the Riverside. Goalless between QPR and Bristol as well at Loftus Road. Millwall are leading 2-0 away to Sheffield Wednesday. Southampton 1-0 up over West Brom. Watford are leading 2-0 over Rotherham as well.
Total Sport North East.
On the station with Newcastle and Sunderland commentary exclusively live.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Into League One, then the early kick-off, Peterborough versus Cambridge. Peterborough winning that one 5-0. It's Bolton 0, Blackpool 0, Bristol Rovers leading Carlisle 1-0. It's 1-1 between Cheltenham Town and Wigan. Derby leading 1-0 over Barnsley. Fleetwood Town 3-0 up over Exeter. Oxford 2-0 up over Leyton Orient. Port Vale leading 1-0 away to Lincoln. Goalless between Northampton Town and Burton Albion. Portsmouth leading over Charlton 1-0. Reading leading 2-1 away to Shrewsbury, and Wickham Stevenage is goalless.
Total Sport North East.
The Newcastle and Sunderland AFC podcast
On BBC Sounds.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
To League Two, then AFC Wimbledon 1-0 up over Doncaster. Bradford a 1-1 between them and Barrow. Goalless between Colchester and Sutton Crew, and Accrington a 1-1 at half time. Crew and Notts goalless. Grimsby are losing at home 1-0. Morecambe winning, leading 1-0 there. Newport County and MK Dons is goalless. At half time it's Mansfield 2, Salford City 1. Swindon 1-0 up over Stockport County. Tranmere Rovers 1-0 up over Forest Green. Goalless between Walsall and Harrogate, and Wrexham are leading Gillingham by 1-0.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
To non-league then, and as we already know, in National League, Gateshead 3-1 up over Dorking. In the National League North, it's Brackley Town 1, Blythe Spartans 0. It's goalless between South Shields and Stockport. In the Northern Premier League Premier Division, Morpeth winning 1-0 at half-time over Stafford Rangers. Into the East Division, Ashington winning 2-0 over Carlton Town. Concert 3-0 up over Grantham. It's ones each between Dunstan and Grimsby. Borough Town 3-1 up away to Ossett United. And in the Scottish Lowland League, it's Berwick Rangers 0, Civil Service Strollers 0. Of course, our non-league roundup is going to be at half-time during the Newcastle match this evening.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
Hi, it's Matt here. Now, normally at this point, I would be telling you why you should listen to my show. However, for once, I don't have to bribe you. I'm going to hand you over to Alan from Sunderland, who's going to tell you how coming on the show made him feel this morning.
I won the lottery. I played for Sunderland boys when I was 15-year-old, and it's even excelled that. I'm severely sight impaired. I feel now I'm on that much of a high, I'm going around to Pension Monument and back.
Look, if you want to feel the same high as Alan and run to Pension and back, then make sure you're listening next week.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
Back Monday morning
From 6.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Our first football commentary of the day here on BBC Radio Newcastle was Sunderland's 3-1 win over Birmingham at the Stadium of Light. Our Sunderland commentator Nick Barnes has been talking to the Blackguards head coach Tony Mowbray.
Tony, not the ideal preparation for you today, losing Dennis in the warm-up.
No.
What was the issue with him?
Well, ultimately it's his hamstring. He trained yesterday, said he felt it after training, woke up this morning, said he felt fine, said good. So we just pushed on really, and then he went and did the warm-up, and he said he could feel it and he didn't want to risk it really. So he'll go for a scan tomorrow, and we'll see what it is. But it's frustrating, obviously. It's but great for Nectar. Nectar's come in and it's worked out so well for him. He's got himself a goal and he's helped the team win, get 3 points. So really pleased. Nectar's an amazing young man, you know, who I don't know whether he came over and expected to get straight in Sunderland's team and play, but obviously 09 and Ballard have been doing very well. He's had to sit on the sidelines and play the 23s matches. We sent him to Southampton last week. All that way, 7 hours on the bus there, 7 hours back. It was, and yet he does it with a smile on his face, and he knows that he's a young footballer, hopefully with a big future at this club. But he knows where he is in the sort of pecking order. So, but for him to get chucked in 2 minutes before kick-off was amazing for him, and so happy for him because he's such a nice kid. You know, some people who are not in the team can moan and groan and sulk a little bit, but this kid is just wants to get better. He wants a bag of balls after every training session, and he's practicing with his left foot and his right foot and his heading, and he's here to be a big player, I think, for the future, but so happy for him.
Sunderland head coach Tony Mowbray there. The full interview is available on BBC Sounds. Our third commentary of the afternoon comes from the vitality of Bournemouth versus Newcastle United in the Premier League. Matthew Raisbeck and John Anderson reunited for commentary duty this afternoon. Join me now. Afternoon, gentlemen.
Hi, Dom.
Hey, Dom.
Rais, I was going to ask you about the team, but there's not much choice really, is there?
They could have 11 senior players unavailable today. I think that would depend on whether Callum Wilson plays any part here at Bournemouth. He actually hasn't faced his old club since he left them for Newcastle 3 years ago. I would be surprised to see Wilson involved today. He went off with what Eddie Howe said was a tight hamstring in Dortmund at half-time. It would be a big blow for them because, as you say, Dom, they are short of options in most areas of the pitch, and with Alexander Isak unavailable, Ando, if Wilson doesn't play, someone's going to have to fill in there out of position, creating a gap somewhere else in the team.
Yeah, I suppose the one that just springs to mind is Gordon through the middle if Wilson doesn't make it. It would be a blow if Wilson didn't make it. I mean, obviously he's been named in that England squad this week as well, so you would think if he doesn't play today he wouldn't travel away with England either, so it's a blow for the boy as well, but it's a blow for us. We need somebody who's a recognised centre forward who will hold the ball up, who will bring people into the game. Gordon's a totally different type of player. He's not an out and out centre forward, so we don't know yet. We haven't seen the team arrive. We don't know who's here and who's not, so we're just speculating at this moment in time, aren't we?
Just as you said that, Ando, sorry Dom, the Newcastle team just pulled up outside the stadium. Okay. We're watching it on a TV screen at our commentary point, but no players have alighted yet. So over the next minute or so, we'll let you know if
they've all got dark glasses and false beards on.
We'll let you know if we see Callum Wilson. Nick Pope's definitely here. He's the first one off the team coach anyway. And Emil Kraft, not available in the Champions League. He's part of Newcastle's Premier League squad and is likely to be on the bench, we think.
And just very quickly, Ando, how important is it to keep the good Premier League run going and finish what has been a pretty tough run of games for Newcastle heading into the international break?
Yeah, look, the games have come thick and fast on. It's been a really difficult period for us. A lot of injury problems as well, and that comes with the amount of games that we've had to play and the intensity of those games. We've only won one league game away from home all season. Our cup record away from home's been decent, but our league record is only one win away from home. I know we haven't lost many, but look, I think this international break comes at a decent time for us. But if you wanted anybody to play, I think going into this international break, especially away from home, it would be Bournemouth. They're a little bit fragile, you feel, but we'll have to wait and see who's here and who's not and who's going to play.
Haven't seen Callum Wilson, Dom, get off the Newcastle coach, but some young players with the squad. Ben Parkinson, who was on the bench in Dortmund, forward, is there, and Alex Murphy, a defender who played a few times in pre-season, also in the Newcastle travelling group here at Bournemouth today. We'll get the team news at 4:30. And we'll let you know how Newcastle line up during the second half of the Gateshead match.
Reza, Ando, thank you very much for now. It is time for us to head back to the International Stadium then for second half commentary of Gateshead versus Dorking in the company of Colin White and Paul Dixon.
Half-time highlights.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Good work from Chadwick. The run from Ollie was the overlapping one into the box. Back towards Chadwick again. He pokes it towards goal. And Gateshead have the opening goal of the game. Billy Chadwick has his second for the club. And Gateshead lead Dorking Wanderers by 1-0. It's their first decent move forward that has come off. Greg Ollie made the run in behind, controlled it on that far side, down by the byline, laid it back off again to Billy Chadwick, who'd given it to him in the first place. It was a toe poke, but it was an accurate toe poke, and he's found the bottom left-hand corner. Gateshead lead 1-0, corner of the penalty area. Works his way inwards on the left, but lays it off. Joe Grayson thought about a shot, lays in Stephen Wern instead, who now makes it 2-0 to Gateshead. There is no offside flag despite the Dorking protests, and it is going to be a second goal for Gateshead. 26 minutes gone. Stephen Wern in behind. He did well to finish it under a bit of pressure as Harrison Mail came out to close him down, but he slots it home. 2-0 Gateshead. McBride, who tries to find Chadwick in behind here, cuts back on his right foot on the edge of the box. He's got 2 to get through. He does. It's lovely football. It's a brilliant goal from Billy Chadwick. It's 3-0 to Gateshead after just over half an hour. That one was a brilliant solo effort. He was static inside the penalty area with 2 men in front of him. He just poked it between them, ran round the outside, left them both for dead, slotted it past the goalkeeper. Terrific finish. 3-0 Gateshead.
Total Sport North East.
On the station with Newcastle and Sunderland commentary exclusively live.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Gateshead do indeed lead 3-0 at half-time. Welcome back to the International Stadium. Dorking are out on the pitch. Gateshead have yet to emerge, and Paul Dixon, who went in for a chat at half-time with some people inside, has left his glasses inside and has gone to find them. So it's just me for the moment, but the game is still a good few minutes away from getting underway. Greg Ollie actually now leading the Gateshead players out of the tunnel. They lead by 3-0 at half-time. They've got Archie Mayer in goal, Joe Grayson, Louis Story and Kenton Richardson is their back three. Kieran Lofthouse is their right wing back, Stephen Warren the left wing back, with Regan Booty, Ed Francis and Conor McBride in the middle, and Greg Ollie supporting Billy Chadwick up front, who has 2 of those 3 goals, as you have just heard. Dorking are making 2 more changes at half-time, so I will wait until those changes are complete before I give you their lineup. But on the bench for Gateshead this afternoon, Callum Whelan, Tom Allen, Aidan Rutledge, Jordan Hunter and Luke Hannant, and it is 2 strikers that Dorking are going to bring on in the shape of Alfie Rutherford and Jason Pryor. So Jason Pryor comes on for Harry Ottaway, so that one is relatively like for like. He was the only striker really that they had in the first half, but James McShane is the other man who makes way for Alfie Rutherford, and they bring on the number 9 and the number 10 and give themselves a little bit more attacking impetus in the second half. Dorking, that is the idea at least, and they will be playing from right to left as we look at it in the second half, and it will be Gateshead to get us underway in just a moment. Conor McBride has the ball at his feet, and we get the second half underway with Gateshead leading by 3-0 here at the International Stadium. 3 goals in the space of 9 minutes in the middle of that first half, and having not scored any goals in their last 2 games here at the International Stadium, they scored 3 in 9 minutes, and as I mentioned, Billy Chadwick getting both of those. So they have only got 2 substitutes left to use at Dorking. Callum Kennedy and Jack Saunders, who has never played for the first team before. Callum Kennedy has, but Jack Saunders hasn't, and you're only allowed to name 5 on the bench in the National League, and they brought 3 on by half-time. But it is Jason Pryor who is one of those 2 that's come on, and he's got the ball from a Newcastle United trialist, which makes a difference, obviously, from a Newcastle United trialist, but he's got a bit of height about him. He's got 8 goals this season as well, and he is one who will provide a bit of a different danger, and he's going to be joined up front by Alfie Rutherford as well. They've gone to a slightly different system, Dorking. They've now got 2 strikers pretty much up there, as Pryor wins the header ahead of Ed Francis on the edge of the centre circle. And once it's all settled down a little bit, I will run through this Dorking lineup as well. It's definitely Harrison Mayle in goal, in purple, away to our right hand side. Former Gateshead goalkeeper, actually wasn't here for all that long really, joined in sort of October of 2020. But George Franco, he switched from right back to left back in the middle of that second half. It's just tugged down by Greg Ollie, and it's one of the stupidest fouls you're going to see all day. It's a deserved yellow card. I'm sorry, Greg, that's a deserved yellow card, and there's just no need for it.
No, well, he needn't have pulled him back. He wasn't in a dangerous position, really, was he? There was defenders there, but that's a yellow card for nothing, really, you know.
Yeah, just a tug on the shoulder, really, of George Franco, who's playing at left back. The 2 centre-halves now, at least, appear to be, and it's very difficult to tell with Dorking this afternoon, Tony Craig, who came on as a first half substitute, and Niall McManus, with somebody else at right back on the far side. Jimmy Mewett it is who's playing at right back now.
You're right,
number 7 going the far side.
They change all over, don't they?
They absolutely do, which is my way of saying I can't work out which one's which. They just seem to move quite a lot. We'll come back to their team in a moment. George Frankham with his free kick deep towards the far post, but it's headed up in the air and out. That's a very good clearing header actually by Joe Grayson, and then Ollie tries to send Billy Chadwick away. It's thumped. The second clearance is high into the clear sky by Joe Grayson. The header is won by Dorking, but Ollie will control it on the halfway line. Tries to get round Luke Moore, who's playing in the middle of midfield, but he can't. So Luke Moore and Dan Pybus in the middle. Dan Gallagher still at centre half, although he's moved out towards the right hand side as part of this move as well. I should stop trying, really, shouldn't I? And just wait for them to all stand in formation at some point. They've definitely, interestingly, Paul, which is a point worth making, they've brought on the number 9 and the number 10. They've brought on Alfred Rutherford and Jason Pryor, and they've gone for it a bit because they have to, Dorking.
Well, they've got to get back in the game. They need a goal to get them back in the game, but I mean, it leaves the back door open a little bit. And I mean, with the quality that Gateshead have got up front, you know, they need to be careful. They really do, because it could run away from them this game.
It is indeed. A reminder, if you've only just joined us, that Gateshead lead by 3-0. They scored 3 goals in the space of 9 minutes.
Brilliant
first
half, wasn't it?
It absolutely was, and they thoroughly deserved that lead. Dorking had chances here and there. No spectacular saves required from Archie Mayer, but you never know. Gateshead scored 3 in the first half. Dorking, if they score early in this second, might make more of a game of it as they send McManus wide down that right hand side, but its cross from the far side is headed out by Lofthouse towards Frankham on the edge of the box. Ollie gets there though and nicks it off his toes, and Warren controls it, and now there's a break on here because Ollie is in behind. He's got Chadwick for company, but he might be able to go all the way himself here. Greg Ollie cutting in from the left hand side, might think about laying it off, has a go instead, finds the bottom corner. 4-0 Gateshead, game set and match, 4.5 minutes into the second half.
Greg Ollie, how'd you like your eggs done? He could have passed it, he just beat the defender, had a look at the far post and bent it into the corner. What a wonderful finish. What a player, what skill he has, and he can score goals. 4-0.
And I'd said about 30 seconds before that if Dorking somehow get one early in this second half, then the game changes completely, but that has just put any doubt, we've put this game beyond any doubt now, Paul. Gateshead are 4-0 up and they are not going to relinquish this.
Not at all. I mean, let me just take you back to when you were speaking to Greg Ollie before the game started, and Greg says we're nearly ready to take, to hammer someone. That was his actual words, right? Well, at the minute, the hammer and Dorking, the really, and he's using the hammer to pick the nails in, as you would say. What a finish that was, Colin.
Lovely, right-footed, calm finish, and Dorking, who made brought on 2 attackers, one of those really an attacking change at half-time, and they find themselves not 3 but 4 goals behind. And football fans being football fans, the crowd around us want more, and they will always want more. Gateshead could get double figures this afternoon and they'd still be asking for more, but it is just a much more positive place to be than the last couple of home games in particular. Beaten 4-0 here by Fyle. Billy Chadwick's in behind, and the linesman takes an eternity to put his flag up, but he does eventually, and he is caught offside. Billy Chadwick, who will go hunting his hat-trick for the whole of the second half. For as long as he is on the pitch, he wants that 3rd goal.
And I think he's got a chance of getting it. I really do.
He absolutely does. It's Niall McManus on this near side. Square to Dan Pybus for Dorking. He's got a bit of space to run into the Gateshead half. Stephen Warren is good tracking back though on that far side, and the crossfield pass was not getting anywhere near his Dorking teammate in the end, and Regan Booty with a bit of time in the middle of the Gateshead half goes wide to Grayson, but back to Louis Story on the edge of the box, who had one bursting run through the middle. Louis Story, which was a hark back as well.
He loves that. He loves getting forward. I remember we were at a game here. Louis hadn't scored for a long time, and he scored 2 in the game,
He's got the ball on the edge of the box as well. Lays it off as Regan Booty had come to help him. It goes back to Archie Mayer, but it's just calm, sensible football from Gateshead. You're listening to BBC Radio Newcastle with Gateshead leading by 4-0 and Everton now leading by 2-1. They've taken the lead again at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace in the Premier League. There's some interesting non-league scores that Dom went through at half-time as well, but one of the ones that we're not going to celebrate is South Shields going a goal down at Southport in the last minute or so. A lovely turn from Kieran Lofthouse on the right hand side into the penalty area, lays in off, it's dummied, and it's going to be Regan Booty. He can't quite get the effort in. A double clearance for Dorking Wanderers, and the ball is trickled out for a corner.
Again, really exciting. I mean, the crowd, they're off their seats there. I mean, it's really exciting getting in behind them there. That looked as though it was going to be 5, but it's a corner.
It is a corner that Greg Ollie will come over and take from this near right hand side. Dorking have eventually decided to leave somebody up, so Niall McManus is not going to come back and defend this, but Gateshead have got 3 on the edge of the box, 3 inside the penalty box as well. Greg Ollie goes short in the end to Stephen Wern, gets it back again. Wern tries to go in the overlap, but Ollie spins down towards the corner flag again. And a lovely reverse pass for Wern's cross. It was just chipped towards the back post. Story's header towards goal is a yard wide of the post, and it was a really nice move. I don't know if it was the best solution under the circumstances, but you can get away with that and trying that kind of thing when you're 4-0 up.
You certainly can. The confidence is all there. I mean, all the tricks are coming out now, you know, and it's great to watch. You're right, when you're 4-0 up, I mean, come on, entertain us in the yawn.
You've absolutely earned the right to try things a bit differently and have a bit of fun, frankly, when you are 4-0 up very, very early in the second half. We played 8.5 minutes in the second half. And Gateshead lead Dorking Wanderers in the National League by 4-0. Colin White and Paul Dixon with you here, as we will be next Saturday afternoon as well. It's an international weekend, so no Newcastle United or Sunderland fixtures, which means that once again Saturday 3 o'clock Gateshead will be the focus, and we are away at Barnet, which, as we've mentioned before,
looking forward to that,
is a different challenge.
It is,
but a challenge nonetheless that Gateshead will look forward to, as Louis Story spreads it from right to left. Stephen Wern picks it up and then hooks it over the top for Regan Booty, who's in behind here and who's clipped on the edge of the box, and I think Luke Moore is going to be given a yellow card.
He is.
He actually trod on it was Regan Booty, wasn't he? Actually trod on him slightly, and he apologised for that, but the trip before it is what he's going to be pulled up for, and I'd be amazed if this wasn't a yellow card. In fact, it is, because the referee has already got the card out of his pocket.
Terrific overhead pass as well.
Lovely
to get him in. I mean, it's exciting stuff that we're watching at the minute from Gateshead. They're really turning it on here this afternoon. And you know, people in the last 2 games have said, hey, what's happening to Gateshead? I tell you what's happening to them, they're back.
Absolutely are, and we've got another 35 minutes of football to enjoy watching them at the International Stadium. And the free kick is maybe only a yard or 2 outside the penalty area, away on that left hand side from just outside the angle of the penalty area. Ed Francis might fancy it left footed, he does. McBride runs over it, it's clipped towards the penalty spot. Wern flicks the header on, Dorking don't clear it properly, the shot comes in from Conor McBride and it's deflected out for a corner. And Arsenal and Burnley now drawing 1 apiece as Greg Ollie comes across to take this corner, and the 2 attacking players, who've both got a good bit of height about them, that Dorking brought on at half-time, Jason Pryor and Alfie Rutherford, come back to defend this. They're both actually standing inside the 6-yard box. This one is not going to go short from Greg Ollie. Towards the near post, it's flicked on. Regan Booty thinks about laying it off. He does. That's a big shout for handball. Booty gets the effort on goal, and again that's deflected.
Another corner.
Again, it's a corner.
They're like, after you should go on.
But they are finding teammates. They're doing it in the right way. They're doing the right things. They're trying to find the best opportunity to score a goal. And Greg Ollie, I don't think it was the best delivery, that last one, but he's got another opportunity here. This one's got a bit more height on it. The header at the near post is flicked all the way across and goes out for a goal kick on the far side. It was Louis Story who got his head on it at this near side, but Dorking will have the opportunity to just relieve the pressure a little bit. 11.5 minutes gone in the second half, and Gateshead lead Dorking by 4-0 in the National League. Dan,
I think with the 2 results that they've had, Gateshead, right, the 2 defeats, I think they'll be looking for something like this. I'm sure Rob was looking for something like this.
Greg Ollie might nick it through to Stephen Wern, who has a chance to finish. Oh, he hits the post. It was a lovely move. It's still going. Greg Ollie, square to Lofthouse on this right-hand side. His touch is a bit heavy, but he fires it across goal. And it's a yard or so wide of the post, but it took another deflection, and it will be another Gateshead corner. And Stephen Worm was very close to getting his second.
I can't believe he's hit the post. He was in. He'll be really disappointed that his shot hasn't gone in. But again, great player.
Corner taken quickly towards Story at the back post. It's headed out for yet another corner that I have now lost count of. But I think that's maybe 6. It's definitely 5 or 6 in very quick succession for Gateshead. And they've taken almost every one differently as well. That one from the far side, McBride took quickly to lay it off to Ed Francis. But they'll just take the time over this one a little bit more. And Greg Ollie will come out to take it.
It's like all the game is in their half. You defend, we attack.
They've not left anybody up this time, Dorking.
No.
So everybody within 5 yards of their own penalty area, or indeed most of them obviously, inside it. Ollie towards the near post. It's headed clear by Moore this time, and the second clearance comes from McManus. Up in the air, headed back towards goal by Richardson. Grayson got there first, but Dorking are going to win a scrappy little battle inside the half. They nearly give it away again. Luke Moore under pressure from Lofthouse, but Dorking will try and break a bit now on the far side. Gallagher had to carry it over the halfway line. He's got a man in front of him that he lays it off to, Jimmy Mewett. Comes across the middle of the park to find Luke Moore, edge of the centre circle, with a little bit of space to run into. Closed down, but turns Regan Booty nicely up towards the edge of the box. Out towards Gallagher on that far side. His cross is charged down though. And then Ed Francis, from charging the cross down, gets the ball back from Stephen Warren as well. And Joe Grayson, under a bit of pressure down by his own corner flag, will just knock this one long for Billy Chadwick to chase. The layoff from Tony Craig is pretty comfortable, and we mentioned that Gateshead are away to Barnet next Saturday afternoon. And then they're away at Solihull Moors on the Tuesday night, and then Southend come here. It's 3 big games in the space of 7 days.
Yep.
But it would be nice to go in there into that run off the back of a good run of form, and it's a very wildly misplaced pass by Luke Moore, but I think it's Joe Grayson who's just gone down by himself inside the penalty box for Gateshead.
When it's not your day, Colin, and you've got the ball in midfield and you're trying to hit the winger and you kick it out, you see it's not our idea.
Yeah, I do just think that Joe Grayson's pulled something here. It might well be his groin, actually. That seems to be the part of him that he's holding.
Which is not good, because he's done very well.
And Louis Story's come across, obviously player coach and one of the only 2 coaches here that are allowed within the confines of the pitch. Comes across to have a chat with Carl Magny. He's already made it clear that there has to be a change here, that Joe Grayson is not going to be able to continue. No obvious central defenders.
No, not really.
On the bench for Gateshead.
No.
Callum Whelan, Tom Allen, Aidan Rutledge, Jordan Hunter, and Luke Hannant.
Yeah.
So you may be asking an Ed Francis to come back, or Regan Booty. I think it's maybe the most likely actually to drop back into the back 3.
That doesn't look good either. It's taken him an eternity to get up the pitch.
It
there.
is. Yeah, he's.
It looks as though it's his groin, doesn't it? You know.
It does. He's walking very slowly, is Joe Grayson, and it was just part of chasing back, and then he suddenly pulled up inside the box, nowhere near the ball.
And that'll not look good for Barnet next week either. That I don't think.
No, and they're not blessed with a huge number of central defenders.
No, they're not.
Gateshead, as we've just alluded to. Regan Booty, I think, will probably go back into that back 3, and they can bring on a Callum Whelan or a Luke Hannant, perhaps, as Manchester United take the lead against Luton in the Premier League. And I mentioned just very briefly that South Shields have gone a goal down at Southport. Southport, who came back from 3-1 to beat Blythe, to draw at Blythe in midweek. Arsenal take the lead over Burnley as well and lead them by 2-1. It is Luke Hannant who is going to come on for Joe Grayson, and I will be very surprised if it is not a simple case of Regan Booty coming on. Going back from the midfield into the back 3, although they're having a conversation with Ed Francis here as well. It's definitely Luke Hannant who's come on,
yeah,
and has gone all the way back to left back. He might be going,
unless Louis just goes in, i.e. is the middle of the back 3, or like he's the main one at centre back.
So Luke Hannant's gone all the way over to the left hand side to take this throw in. I just wonder if this is a back 4, because Stephen Warren hasn't left his position on left as a left winger. We'll come back to that in a minute, because Rutherford's got the ball inside the box and has a go, and it's a good save from Archie Mayer to put that one out for a corner.
Yeah.
vicious turn and strike.
I mean, he's had
Alfie Rutherford.
He's had very little to do, but that was a bit of quality there, because that was going in. He done well, full length to get it round.
He did indeed. It's his first. Yeah, you're right. It's his first save that he's had to make in this match. And the defensive setup is obviously different when they're defending a corner, so we'll see what they're doing. But I do just think there might be a back four with Luke Hannant at left back and Kenton Richardson at right back. Regan Booty heads it clear from the corner from Dorking from that far side. And there are some supporters on this side who think that the ball was handled before it went out of play. None of them can tell from this distance, but Pryor might get his head on this. He heads it backwards out of the penalty area for Dorking, knocked back in by Craig towards the far post. Gallagher gets his head on it, but there's no power on the header, and it's a comfortable save, this one, much more comfortable than the last one was for Archie Mayer in the Gateshead goal. And he gives it quickly out to Kieran Lofthouse on this right hand side, who's under a bit of pressure and just decides quite rightly, and he gets the applause for it, to turn back. So yeah, I think that,
I mean, that's a disappointment, the lad Grayson getting injured there, because he's looked rock solid at the back there with Louis, and you know, moving on to them games that you've just mentioned, Colin, that'll be a big if for him to be playing in them, I tell you. Yeah,
they're looking very we talked about how fluid Dorking are as Morpeth go 2-0 up at Stafford Rangers in the NPL Premier Division, and boy do they need to bounce back after the thumping they took from Worksop in midweek.
Yeah, that's a good score for them at the minute, if they can get the 3 points there.
Gateshead are, yes, being a little bit fluid with this as well, but it doesn't matter when you're 4-0 up and they make Billy Chadwick chase a ball down the left hand side up against Tony Craig, but he lays it off and finds his own goalkeeper relatively comfortably. So yeah, I just think it might be Richardson and Story as the two centre halves, Lofthouse at right back, Luke Hannant at left back, and then that leaves Ed Francis and Regan Booty as two defensive-ish central midfielders
sitting in. Yes,
with Wern, Ollie and McBride then in behind Billy Chadwick, who is definitely the furthest man forward. Lofthouse inside to McBride midway in through the Dorking half. He's got an awful lot of space to move into here, but he's gone down with an injury as well. Lays it off. Ollie finds Chadwick, edge of the box, has a go. It's deflected back to him. He might get a second effort on goal here. He's forced wide to the right hand side, and he hits the side netting in the end. And I think that this is another muscle injury for Gateshead, although
is it Francis?
It's Francis who's gone down. Lofthouse has gone to help him as if it were cramp, which if it is the right thing to do. It's the wrong thing to do if it's not cramp. But we've only played 20 minutes of the second half, Paul, and
that's two down.
Yeah. And Ed Francis has played plenty of football this season, and again, if there is any issue with him being able to continue, that is a position they can cover from the bench with the likes of Callum Whelan or Jordan Hunter even at a push. But I'm not sure that is cramp. It's his knee was rubbing. Yeah,
inside of his knee he's rubbing there, and they've asked him to come off.
Yeah, so he is going to come off, and that's.
But is he coming off for good though? Yes, is he?
I think he is. Yes, because Callum Whelan is coming on. The number 4 is right in front of us. So they're 4-0 up, but they've had 2 injuries in the last couple of minutes. Gateshead that they could very much have done without. Just mentioned the run of games that they're going to have to go on off the back of this. 2 away from home in quick succession, and with Marcus Denanga missing today as well. Robbie Tinkler out for a decent length of time. He needs surgery on his injured shoulder. Carl Magny's not going to be part of the squad for a long time, even if he wanted to be as player coach, with injury as well. So they're still 4-0 up, Gateshead. 20 minutes gone in the second half, and they've just dispossessed Dorking on the edge of the Gateshead box as well. Ollie comes short under pressure from Luke Moore, knocks it back to Louis Story, and they will just take their time now. Dorking have got a bit more energy about them, but they are very much chasing this game, and it hasn't really looked like coming back into it, to be perfectly honest.
No, they haven't. And I mean, Colin, when you're winning 4-0, it's a mindset, isn't it, really, you know?
Callum Whelan with his first... Ed Francis over the halfway line, gets away with what I thought was a handball, and then is scythed down by Dan Pybus. And that may well be another yellow card. The referee hasn't put his hand to his pocket yet, but he has now. And it's the spray. I'd be amazed if that's not a yellow card for Dan Pybus.
It was a good run running by
Very
Francis.
good.
Yeah, shifted himself well there.
And Ed Francis has got himself back up on his feet, and he's going to take this free kick. It's absolutely dead centre. There is no yellow card for the former Sunderland youngster, Dan Pybus. And Francis will take this free kick almost smack in the middle of the Dorking centre half. He goes short and straight up to Greg Ollie, whose ball through is just cut out before it could reach Stephen Wernin behind. Whelan controls it, flicks it backwards, but under a bit of pressure and under a high challenge, it looked like from here. Regan Booty does well, knocks it long. Chadwick forces Gallagher into a defensive header, and it's going to go out for a throw-in, but right next to the corner flag on Gateshead's left-hand side.
You know, Chadwick, the first half, you know, the involvement that he had with these 2 goals, and you've seen his bit of skill there. They need to give them the ball more often, really, if they can, because once he gets it, things happen, don't they?
They've taken the throw in quickly. It's laid off towards Chadwick again inside the box, but he can't get there. But it's back out on that far side with Luke Hannant, and finds Callum Whelan. They go all the way back to Richardson on the halfway line and then square inside the centre circle. Richardson gives it back out on that far left hand side, and they're just playing about with it inside their own half, Gateshead, and trying to encourage Dorking to come out. Regan Booty has gone very defensive all of a sudden as well. It's him that's picked the ball up again. It might just be to come looking for the ball rather than any kind of change of shape, but
Louis come in here nearly at right back.
Well, he is at right back at the moment. I'm pleased it's not only me that's getting a bit confused by all of this, because Louis Story is playing as right back for the moment, at least. Archie Mayor's got the ball at his own feet.
I've never seen Louis play right back before.
No, it's all a bit fluid. Richardson is scythed down inside the box on that. I'm not going to tell the referee what to do, but if that's not a yellow card, there's something very wrong.
Well,
it was
I think
a very late challenge by Jason Pryor.
Nearly snapped him in half, hasn't he?
He did indeed, and it is a yellow card.
Yeah.
It's not Jason Pryor, it's Josh Taylor, but it's certainly a yellow card.
Yeah, that was a bad tackle. That really bad tackle.
Yeah, he was put under pressure by his own teammates, Kenton Richardson. It was all a bit loose around their own penalty area,
to say the least.
But as he gave it back to Archie Mayor, he was flattened from behind, and that has been given, of course, as a free kick, which the Gateshead goalkeeper, all in pink, takes long left-footed up towards Kieran Lofthouse, who was the furthest man forward on this right-hand side for Gateshead. Francis wins the header on the centre, on the halfway line, but Dorking try and spread it out to the right-hand side. It's intercepted, but they'll pick the second ball up as well. Gallagher bursts over the halfway line. He's got a teammate out on that far side in Jimmy Mewett. Cuts inside, Moore finds Pybus. Taylor gives it away though, and it's a chance for combination of Francis and Whelan, and then Lofthouse on this right hand side to break for Gateshead over the halfway line, gets away from the jersey tug, and now Lofthouse right through the middle sends Billy Chadwick away. This is the chance for the hat-trick. Billy Chadwick finds the bottom corner. Gateshead lead by 5. Billy Chadwick has 3, and he thoroughly deserves every accolade that will come his way. He's had a wonderful afternoon, Billy Chadwick. Scored 2 in the space of 9 minutes in the middle of the first half. Got in behind again this time. Kieran Lofthouse's pass was perfectly weighted. He controlled it, found the bottom right-hand corner. Gateshead 5, Dorking 0.
Well, I think Gateshead have found a little star on Billy Chadwick. I mean, that was an incredible finish. Superb run by Lofthouse. Real good bit of skill that was to get him in. And when he was in, you're thinking, Billy, can you? No danger. Pick the ball out. Hat-trick for Billy.
Exactly, and just before we get started then, this is an opportune moment to go to Matthew Raisbeck, who can bring us Newcastle United starting 11.
No Callum Wilson for Newcastle today because of injury, but a first Premier League start for 17-year-old midfielder Lewis Miley. 3 changes: Pope, Trippier, Lascelles, Share and Hall. Miley, Longstaff, Shoa Linton, Almiron, Gordon and Willock. Tino Livramento is among the substitutes.
Matthew, thank you very much indeed, and Billy Chadwick's reward for a hat-trick is being substituted. Off he comes, job very much done. And I guess when we talk about 3 games in a week coming up, if they don't fancy Marcus Denanga's chances of being fit for Barnet or for Solihull Moors the game after, then Billy Chadwick's done his job. This game is won. Just look after him. It makes sense, Paul.
Well, it does make sense, and that's good management. It is, but you know, I just mentioned Billy hadn't been in the game much in the second half. As soon as they put him in, that's 3. You know, but hey, we've got to give a lot of credit to Kieran Lofthouse. I mean, he's picked the ball up on the halfway line, and he's just beat 1, beat 2. Great turn of pace, and then put Billy in, and then Billy's just stroked it in. That's class upon class.
He's enjoyed getting forward on this right hand side, Kieran Lofthouse, and Dorking, after going 2 or 3 goals behind, were a little bit more wary of him, and he, officially playing as a right wing back, but has done a lot more attacking than defending since Gateshead took a hold of this game. And Ollie might fancy another one. Here's a good run in behind from Tom Allen, who came on for Billy Chadwick, but they go out to Lofthouse on this right hand side, 20 yards from the touchline, inside to Ollie. There's an overlap as well. Goes back to Lofthouse, back to Ollie in the corner of the penalty area, round the corner from Whelan to Ollie, and that one I think came off. No, it's not a corner, it's a goal kick.
Oh.
It came off the toes of Greg Ollie as he was tackled, and it will be a goal kick. But I mean, look, 5-0 is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but there's probably a couple more left in this if Gateshead really want them.
Well, I think Billy would have gotten them if he had stayed on. But what a day! And he'll not forget this day in a hurry, Billy, being absolutely clinical with his goals. I mean, they're playing some wonderful football. They really are. I mean, they're much better than the opposition, but they're showing it as well.
Yeah, and it's always worth pointing out, particularly when you come into the second half of a game like this, that Dorking are part-time and Gateshead are full-time, and that towards the end of a game can really start to make a difference. Morpeth have gone 3-0 up at Stafford in the Northern Premier League.
Doing well, Morpeth, aren't they?
They are
really
indeed,
well.
yes. Yeah. And as we mentioned earlier, determined to bounce back from their 7-0 thumping by Worksop earlier on this week. Dorking back in possession just outside their own half, but George Frankham carries it over the halfway line on this left-hand side. Rutherford comes short for him, but under good pressure from Gateshead, who've actually got a bit more energy in the middle of midfield now with Callum Whelan. They didn't want it, if you like, because he was brought on because of an injury, but with Ed Francis going off and Joe Grace is going off, they have got themselves a little bit more energy.
Well, the lads that are on the bench will want to get on. I mean, when you're winning 5-0, you want to run about, you want to play, you want to be part of it, don't you?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. So they have brought on Callum Whelan and Tom Allen and Luke Hannant in this second half. So both sides have now made 3 changes. Archie Mayer has the ball on the edge of his own 6-yard box, but he's not under any pressure, the Gateside goalkeeper. Away to our left-hand side, under the floodlights now. Wern tries to win that second ball when it went long from the goalkeeper, but can't, and Dorking, under a little bit of pressure, work it all the way back to their goalkeeper Harrison Mayle.
I'll be interested to see how many's here today, Colin, because great following Gateshead have. I mean, it's usually around about 1,000, and they love it because we've asked the people of the North East many times to come and watch Gateshead play, but the hardcore is 1,000, but they'll be pleased that they're back on track, as you would say.
Absolutely, and I know it's 2 away games in a row, but when Southend come here in a couple of weeks' time, they'll bring a decent support. I know it's a long way, but they're a well-supported team as well, Southend. So we will see what that attendance turns out to be as Arsenal go 3-1 up on Burnley in the Premier League. Dorking trying to work it down the left-hand side, but it's intercepted by Ed Francis. Laid off by Wern. Whelan, edge of the centre circle. Forced back, though, to Regan Booty, who's come very deep again. Square to Richardson on the edge of his own box. And Louis Story has come out at right back again.
Overlapping right back, Louis.
He is at the moment, yeah. They're just... I think it's clearly a deliberate ploy. If Regan Booty drops deep to pick the ball up, then you don't need that extra centre half.
Correct.
So Louis Story can pull out to the right-hand side of the defence, and it lets Kieran Lofthouse go a lot further up. I mean, Lofthouse has played as a right winger for the last 15 minutes.
He has, and he's had a good game.
He has.
He has.
And once again,
really
he is the furthest player forward at the moment. Crystal Palace have got back into the game in the Premier League. It's 2-2 at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace 2, Everton 2. Tom Allen does battle inside the centre circle, and Carl Magny complains that he was being fouled, but the fourth official... Carl Magny's not the tallest player you've ever seen. The fourth official's a good 3 inches shorter than him, but it's a friendly-ish argument they're having. Harrison Mayle under pressure, but does get the clearance away. Rutherford flicks a header on, but it's not gone towards the feet of Jason Pryor, and they brought those two on, their number 9 and the number 10 for Dorking, at the start of the second half, and they haven't had an impact.
They've hardly had a kick. Where is the players that have come on for Gateshead have made an impression?
Long ball over the top is towards Tom Allen, who is onside despite the claims from Dan Pybus. Down by the left-hand corner flag, gets towards the byline, gets his ball across as well. Lofthouse, brilliant save. It comes back out and it's fired off the post again by Francis, and then there's an offside flag goes up. Wonderful football. Lofthouse very nearly had the goal he deserved.
was that one post will hit, then we'll hit the other post, and then we'll try and hit the crossbar. Was that right?
It came firing off. The first one, I'm not absolutely sure if it was a save or if it hit the post on the far side, but it was very well struck. I saw a lovely ball over the top. Warren controls it. Olive volley, half volley from Greg Ollie, left-footed, is a long way wide.
Ollie, your left foot's not the best, is it? So no, it's not. So I'll just pass it past the post there. I mean, I think it might have been different if it had been Nils each. He would have switched it to his right foot, I think, Yeah. But they're enjoying themselves out there, really enjoying themselves.
They are indeed. And whether that first of the two chances was a good save or it hit the post, the second one from Francis definitely hit the post.
It did.
And fired back across goal as well from the inside of the right-hand post. But Gateshead just having a whale of a time with 13 minutes left on the clock, plus a bit of injury time, I suppose. But we'll see whether the referee takes a little bit of pity on Dorking Wanderers, and if you're 5-0 down, the last thing you need is 6 or 7 minutes of injury time. And Alfie Rutherford's attempted through ball is spectacularly overhit, and will go out for a goal kick that Archie Mair will take plenty of time over.
It'll be interesting, your interview with Mr. Elliott at full time, Colin. I'm looking forward to that.
209, including 120.
So 1,209 the attendance, if you didn't quite catch it in the background. 1,209 and 128 Dorking supporters, who in fairness to the Gateshead fans around us get a big round of applause. They do as well.
That's very good. 128 of them coming this far north.
It's a very long way to come, and
it'll be a long way back that you're getting beat. You're getting beat 5-0 as well, isn't it?
Exactly. And 1,000 is always that kind of magic number. 1,000 home supporters is what Gateshead want every week.
Well, 1,200's a good crowd, isn't it?
So
they'll be pleased with that. They will.
They will indeed. Obviously, it helps Newcastle United being away, not being at 3 o'clock, and being a long way away as well. So it's not the kind of place that all that many fans are going to travel to. It's a small ground in Bournemouth, relatively speaking, as well. So the away allocation's not too high. So, plenty of reasons to have come here today, and for those who did come, plenty of reasons to come back. Kenton Richardson gets through a challenge on the halfway line, but was dispossessed. The referee brings it back for the little trip on him, and he's just gone down as well, Kenton Richardson, after that trip. And there's no need to there's no need to just waste time for the sake of it here. So
he wants a physio on as well.
He has taken a knock here. It was a foul, but it was a very simple trip. There was no malice in it. No, it was not a hard challenge particularly, and we'll try and see what the nature of Kenton Richardson's problem might be. But as great as it is to win 5-0, Paul, you do not want to lose 3 separate players to injury.
Well, you don't, and I mean they need to be careful about that. I mean they've lost Joe Grayson, and we're going down to Barnet next week to cover the game. I'll be very surprised if he's starting with the strip on there. It was his groin which caused it. So you're right. I mean they don't want any more injuries.
Well, that is the end, I'm pretty sure, of Kenton Richardson's game, because Louis Story is now doing some organising with Regan Booty is definitely going to come back to centre half after what I suggested he might do earlier on. Richardson, well, maybe it's not the end of Richardson's afternoon. He's getting his legs strapped up now, down across, right in front of us, just off the pitch.
I mean, they should really bring him off, shouldn't they?
You would think so, as Lofthouse tries to get in behind. He does. He's inside the penalty area, works his way from right to left, tries to square it towards Hannant on the far side, but it didn't get there. Whelan goes up well, wins the header 30 yards out. Ollie controls it on his chest, gets through 3 or 4 towards the edge of the box, then pokes it through. It's just deflected out of the path though of Stephen Warren and Tom Allen. Either of them could have got on the end of that, but Dorking did quite well.
Terrific feet from Ollie there, wasn't it? His hips were going, his feet were going, now he got him in.
So it does look as though Kenton Richardson is going to come back on the pitch. He's not allowed to right now because the ball is right in front of him as Dorking work their way down the left hand side. 10 minutes left in this match. Gateshead leading by 5-0. Josh Taylor spreads it from left to right, which means that Kenton Richardson can come back on. Both Francis and Lofthouse had come back and Booty as well, across that back line to cover the absence of Richardson, but they can now rejig themselves a little bit as Louis Story screams at them to get out, because Dorking have possession but all the way back down the other end of the pitch.
Louis gone in the centre back now. You know what I mean? His right back role's gone now.
Yes, it has. Although they still need to sort.
I might ask him about that at the end of the game. Just fill us in on that.
They need to sort themselves out a little bit at the back, because they've still got Lofthouse as a centre half and Richardson at right back here for the moment. but they do have the ball, and Francis can't pick that up though. It was a bit loose actually from Louis Story, who holds his hand up in apology, and now Dorking back over the halfway line, trying to find some space and maybe one more attacking opportunity, because they haven't come close to scoring in this second half. They did have opportunities in the first half, not glorious ones, but snapshots on effort.
A couple of half chances they had, yes.
They did, but haven't come close in the second. It has been all Gateshead, particularly really since they scored their opening goal, and I keep mentioning it, but 3 goals in 9 minutes just completely turned the game on its head.
It does help that, Colin.
It does make a difference, yes. Stephen Warren slips and is given a free kick on the far side, and Gateshead will just relieve a little bit of the pressure. 8 minutes to go here on BBC Radio Newcastle. A reminder that after Sunderland beat Birmingham by 3-1 earlier on today, Newcastle United are at Bournemouth later on this evening. It is a 5:30 kickoff. Matthew Raisbeck, who you heard from a few minutes ago with their team news, will be joined, as he always is, by John Anderson, and they will begin the build-up once this match has finished around about 5 o'clock. Dominic James in the studio will go through some full-time scores, and then we will be heading down to the south coast. Luke Hannant with a lovely spin on the touchline of that far side, and a good run forward as well from Ed Francis. He's got a man square if he wants it. On the left hand edge of the box, he goes square to Allen, who can't get his shot away first time. It's actually really good defending from Luke Moore, and Dorking clear it out for a throw in.
I mean, a great opportunity there for Tom Allen. You know, he just come on, right? I mean, I don't think it was the best of passes. It was just maybe he's half a yard behind him, but could have scored.
He could indeed, and Ed Francis, who made that burst down the left hand side, is going to be the one to take the throw in as well, as Middlesbrough take the lead over Leicester late on in the Championship. Leicester, who have had an extraordinarily good start to the league season, are behind at the Riverside. Gateshead, though, very, very comfortably 5-0 to the good here. The Blythe Spartans have equalised at Brackley as well, and that wouldn't be a bad point.
That's a terrific result. Yes. If that finishes one each down there, Graham Fenton will be more than pleased, I tell you.
Louis Story goes marauding forward, finds Lofthouse on this right hand side, but he's going to get the ball back from him as well. Goes inside Ollie and the overlap, but Ollie can't find him. Keeps hold of the ball. Lofthouse right hand edge of the penalty area. He's still got Greg Ollie on this right wing for company. They just take their time, but Story is in charge of everything now, demanding the ball and demanding the ball be passed from man to man as well. He gets it now on this right hand side, cuts inside, finds Ed Francis, tries to get in behind with Luke Hannant, it was, who'd made that run, but he just couldn't. Luke Hannant's actually he's not done anything wrong. He's not had a huge contribution to this game since he came on, Luke Hannant.
He hasn't, but his movement's been good though. It has.
Yeah, a lot of Gateshead's good stuff coming down this right hand side, particularly in the second half, with again Lofthouse, who is, Gateshead have scored 5, Billy Chadwick scored 3. He's going to take the Man of the Match award, but Lofthouse can be very proud of this performance as well.
No, it's been brilliant. He looks a player. He does, and again, give him more the ball.
Yeah, he's only on loan until January. Tom Allen is in behind, but he's flagged offside, and that will not count. Yeah, Kieran Lofthouse on loan from Barnsley. He's only formally on loan until January at the moment. But if he's playing football regularly and he is enjoying being here, if he is, I assume
he'd probably want to stay.
You'd imagine he would want to stay. Gateshead will want to keep him, and Barnsley is probably, Barnsley's 2 divisions above this, so
and I think they're doing all right.
And even performing well in a National League side doesn't automatically make a League One side think, we'll have him back and we'll play him for the second half of the season. So
with a bit of luck, part today though.
He absolutely has, and with a bit of luck, Gateshead keep him for the rest of the season. Tom Allen might be in behind here. There's no offside flag this time, right through the middle. Tom Allen cuts it back on his right foot, just runs straight into a defender and then goes down. It wasn't a penalty, and it's going to be obstruction. And Tom Allen really ought to have done a bit better than that, Paul.
Well, he had a defender to beat. He should have made his mind up, and he was trying to go one way and then the other, and then he fell over the ball. They're screaming about a penalty. It's not, but he'll be disappointed because he was in there, and he'll be thinking, I should have scored.
And there is 4 minutes left as the least surprising news of the afternoon is announced, that Billy Chadwick is the man of the match. 3 of Gateshead, 5 goals scored by him, and actually a really good all-round performance as well. Some lovely touches beyond his 3 goals.
Oh, I mean, he's really caught the eye this afternoon. I mean, that's more or less the first time I've had a real good look at him, but he's looked at star this afternoon.
Well, it's only his second start for Gateshead, and he knows, we all know he's only started because Marcus Denanga's not fit.
Correct.
But boy, is he taking his chance, and whether Denanga recovers for next Saturday or not,
it'll be interesting.
It will be very interesting.
But they need him. They need him in the squad, don't they? You know, need to get him fit. You know, I mean, they could play them both.
And Dorking into the final 3.5 minutes plus injury time of this game. Haven't played like a team that just want it to end, but you suspect that psychologically they just want to pack up and go home.
I would think so.
Jimmy Mewett still working down that right hand side, lays it off to Gallagher, 30 yards from the goal. They go square though to Luke Moore.
I think they'll just want to delete this game from the fixture.
They will,
and then pick themselves up and then start all over again. But
Niall
go again.
McManus is dispossessed by Kieran Lofthouse, a long way from goal, but he's burst over the halfway line. Finds Stephen Warren on this right hand side. He's got Tom Allen square. If the ball is good enough, it's well cut out and it's a corner. It's good defending, but the Dorking players are furious at Niall McManus, who gave that away very cheaply, but Gateshead very nearly took advantage.
I tell you what though, Lofthouse, what we've seen today, he just covers the ground very quickly, doesn't he? You know, he's a bit like Joe Willock at Newcastle, isn't he, when he picks it up and just runs.
Greg Ollie will take this corner from the right hand side as Everton take the lead again at Selhurst Park in the Premier League. Crystal Palace 2, Everton 3. Greg Ollie's just going to wait before he takes this corner low towards the edge of the box. Regan Booty with the effort finds the bottom corner. It is a beautiful goal to round the afternoon off. It is 6-0 to Gateshead. The corner was side-footed to the edge of the penalty box from Greg Ollie to Regan Booty, who side-footed it in turn to the bottom left-hand corner. It's a wonderful technical goal. It's so simple, but it sums up this Gateshead side, and they lead 6-0.
They want to be back on the bus now, Colin, after that, I tell you. But what a finish. I mean, it come to the edge of the box, had a little touch, and then just placed it into the far corner. Goalkeeper nowhere near it. Very, very good finish. 6 terrific goals we've seen this afternoon. I mean, it's not as though, they've scrambled that in. None of that. Terrific goal. He'll be thrilled with that, Putty, won't he?
Oh, absolutely. And he's had a good game. He's played in a couple of different positions. He's sort of wandered about a little bit from midfield, the middle of midfield, into that back three and back out again. And has gone in search of the ball and has played some good long passes as well this afternoon. But thoroughly deserves that one. Not a single scrappy goal, as you say, Paul. In among the 6. And we've got a minute left of the normal 45, the normal 90. Dorking have won themselves a free kick on the left hand side. Niall McManus was fouled. George Frankham will take this free kick, but even they're not in a rush.
Do you think this is just what Rob wanted? Rob Elliott, the manager? Yeah.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, he wanted a win. He would have taken a win from anywhere. He'd have taken any kind of win.
Yeah.
But a win that vindicates exactly how he wanted his team to play as well is nigh on perfect. Frankham takes the free kick deep towards the far post. Story controls it but lets it go. Gallagher tried to get the shot away and Gateshead rather get away with that one. Tom Allen who'd come deep.
And I think as well, Colin, what he's found is, in Billy Chadwick, he's found a player, hasn't he?
Oh, hasn't he? I mean,
he's found a goal scorer and someone who really is important to Gateshead.
Oh, nearly a very good through ball in behind from Callum Whelan to find a teammate on that far side. He's come all the way across. 5 minutes of injury time are going to be played as Ollie picks it up edge of the penalty area as a goal from 25 yards out. It's a long way over the crossbar, but 5 minutes of injury time to be played, and it's going to be 5 minutes of torture for Dorking Wanderers. And it's just 5 minutes of joy and celebration for Gateshead, because look, it's a full-time team against a part-time team. It was 8th against 16th at the start of this. Gateshead should probably have been winning this game, but there's a lot of relief.
And there's a way to do it.
Yeah.
And the way they've done it is, I mean, for half an hour in the first half, they were absolutely sensational, right? And I mean, the game was won at half time, 3-0, wasn't it? Yep. And they've just carried on in the second half, and I mean, to be honest, they could have had 10. I mean, they hit the bar, hit the post, haven't they?
Yeah, it's been a pretty close to a perfect afternoon. And we will speak to Rob Elliott later on after this game. And Dorking will try and just get through the 5 minutes of injury time. We've played one of them already. Luke Moore has the ball on the halfway line for Dorking, a central midfielder. Back with Gallagher, and then all the way back to Harrison Mail in goal, who I think might have made one very good save, sort of on the opposite side from the way we look at it, so it may just have hit post, but hasn't had a huge amount to do other than pick the ball out the back of the net 6 times, and he's not
right.
a bad game, the goalkeeper.
No, but I mean, he hasn't been able to make any saves because all the goals have been, corner of the net, as you would say, right?
Yeah.
Or terrific finishes.
They have indeed. Dorking have got the ball again inside the centre circle. 2 minutes of the 5 played, and Gateshead win the ball on the halfway line, and Tom Allen is offside again. And if this were 0-0 and he was getting caught offside that often, we'd be getting a bit frustrated with him, actually.
Well, we would, but it's not.
But it's not, exactly.
Don't get frustrated, Colin. Be happy. 6-0, and I'm sure you are. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's it's a club that we've followed for quite a long time. You for longer than me, but they've had their ups and downs, and we don't talk about it too much now necessarily. But they weren't all that far away from not existing altogether, and.
Well, that's right. And
the disappointment. It was a great season, second half of last season, and stayed up when that was a danger for a while, and then there was a disappointment of the way they played at Wembley in the trophy final and just didn't show how good they could be. But had a great start to this season again, and maybe we shouldn't ever have been putting too much emphasis on 4 games without a win, but boy have they come back from that little run of disappointing results and performances this afternoon. 6-0 up on Dorking Wanderers with 2 minutes remaining of injury time, and it's Ed Francis who picks the ball up, finds Allen inside the centre circle, lays it off, and the ball in behind, and Greg Ollie is onside this time, and he lays it off to Stephen Warren, who was offside. And it's a shame because Greg Ollie had timed his run beautifully and was in behind, but decided to play one more pass through, and Stephen Warren had straight offside, and it's just one of those things.
And they've got 6 goals, the fans, and they're not happy, and they're still having to go at the linesman there because he's put his flag up.
They will, but there will be a heck of a cheer when this final whistle goes as well, because it's been a stunning afternoon. Kieran Lofthouse under pressure down by his own right-hand corner flag, does really well to clear it out up towards the halfway line. Dorking pick it back up again. Pryor, who we barely mentioned in the second half up front for Dorking, goes back to Moore, and it's just intercepted well by Tom Allen, and Dorking will have a throw-in on the halfway line between the 2 dugouts.
I think the 128 Dorking fans that have made the long journey will take the hat off to Gateshead and say, look, we've just been beat by a much, much better team this afternoon.
They absolutely have. Pryor gets it round the corner for Niall McManus on this left-hand side, but he's beaten to it by his opposite number 6. Louis Story knocks it back to Archie Mayer. Ollie controls it on the halfway line with a chance to send Tom Allen in behind. He is onside this time, but he's wide on the right hand side. He's got Stephen Warren in the middle. He has to find him. He doesn't. It's behind him. Luke Hannon will pick it up on the far side. Gateshead's move hasn't quite finished. Away on the left hand touchline now, but they've lost a bit of momentum. Still got possession though, back with Regan Booty, and Francis can turn 35 yards out, square to Greg Ollie, who might fancy a shot. He does fancy a shot, and it's straight down the midriff of Harrison Mail.
I think that's probably it now. Yeah,
20 seconds I reckon. I mean, we're not going to play any more than the minimum 5, are we?
No, I don't think so. No.
And the referee, you suspect, will call this one to a halt pretty soon. Harrison Mail has the ball, the Dorking goalkeeper, and they're just playing it around now to try and kill off the final few seconds of this game. And Gateshead have just had the most perfect of afternoons. So the final whistle goes.
There's the whistle.
And Gateshead beat Dorking by 6-0. And they have deserved the margin of victory as the 2 sets of coaches shake hands as well. And there was a thumbs up from Mark White towards the coaching staff of Gateshead as well. He fully acknowledges, Mark White, the owner and chairman and manager of Dorking Wanderers, fully acknowledging the difference in the 2 sides' performances this afternoon. Dorking didn't necessarily play all that badly. Gateshead were just untouchable at times.
Well, they were. I mean, the first 15 minutes was very even, and we look at Dorking and think, well, they've got a bit about themselves. But then the finishing of Billy Chadwick was just absolutely incredible, and give a lot of belief to the Gateshead team, and they just went on from there and played some of the football. I mean, Stephen Warren, Greg Ollie and Lofthouse was absolutely sensational this afternoon. They're 4 players that I think are at the high quality in the National League, and Gateshead need to look after them, and they can take the club further on, I think. I mean, it was a result that they needed today. They've got it, and they've done it in some style as well, Colin.
They have indeed, and I'm not going to finish on a negative, so I'm going to say this and then I'll ask you one more question after it, because they did lose Ed Francis and Joe Grayson to injury in the second half, and that's the only downside to not Ed Francis. They did lose Joe Grayson to injury though in the second half, and that is disappointing.
Well, it is, because he marshalled the defence. He's a good defender, and he's a big integral part of this team. They go down to Barnet next week. Can they fix him up? Can they get him ready in a week? It didn't look like it. It was his groin there, you know. But I think the happiness within the camp at the minute is terrific. They've had a tough week training. Rob Elliott, the manager, he's got a lot of questions to answer. They've answered them.
Yeah, they have indeed. So we are going to be at Barnet next Saturday afternoon. It will be a different kind of game. The opposition will be tougher. Barnet right up
Looking
the top
forward to that.
of this league, but it will be a terrific afternoon's football, you would imagine. It's been a terrific afternoon's football here though, let's be honest, at the International Stadium, because Gateshead beat Dorking by 6-0. There was a goal from Billy Chadwick after 23 minutes, after a relatively difficult start to the game, to be honest, for Gateshead. A few fans around just getting a little bit frustrated at passing moves just not being strung together properly. But he toe-poked it home, and it was a really good finish after 23 minutes. And then 3 minutes later, Stephen Warren's lovely run in behind was finished off neatly just outside the 6-yard box as well. It was 2-0, and then very quickly it was 3-0 as well. Billy Chadwick, again with his second of the game, with lovely footwork inside the penalty area to find himself enough space to slot it past the goalkeeper. It was 3-0 at half time, and then after just 4 minutes of the second half it was 4-0, and that really did put the game beyond Dorking. Greg Ollie firing it into the bottom right hand corner from the edge of the penalty area after 49 minutes, 4 minutes of the second half. It was 4-0. Billy Chadwick got his hat-trick after 70 minutes of this game, and then Regan Booty with one of the nicest goals of the lot, perhaps. It was a side-footed corner from Greg Ollie that reached Booty on the edge of the penalty area, and he controlled it once, side-footed it again with his left foot from 18 yards out, finding the bottom left-hand corner. It was a lovely way to just round off a fantastic afternoon. Paul Dixon, thank you very much indeed.
I've enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Haven't we just? We will both be back at the Hive at Barnet's ground next Saturday afternoon. But this Saturday afternoon here at the International Stadium, it has finished Gateshead 6, Dorking Wanderers 0.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Dominic James back in the BBC Radio Newcastle studio. Thank you very much to Colin White and Paul Dixon. Just to say that again, Gateshead 6, Dorking 0. What a game that was for Gateshead. Colin is off to speak to the Gateshead interim boss, Rob Elliott, so we'll bring you that during half-time in the Newcastle game. Before we go to the Vitality, let me just bring you up to date with some of the scores from around the country. Then we will begin in the Premier League in the early kick-off. Wolves beat Tottenham 2-1, scoring 2 goals at added on time at Molineux to secure 3 points. Still playing between Arsenal and Burnley, but Arsenal winning 3-1 there. Arsenal also having a man sent off at Selhurst Park. Everton are leading 3-2 and with 6 minutes into stoppage time there, but Everton leading 3-2. We're finished at Old Trafford. Manchester United winning 1-0, and as I've already mentioned, the late kick-off in the Premier League today is Bournemouth versus Newcastle.
Total Sport North East.
On the station with Newcastle and Sunderland commentary exclusively live.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Into the Championship we go, and in the early kick-off, as we know, Sunderland beat Birmingham City 3-1. There's post-match reaction with Tony Mowbray on our Twitter page at BBC Newcastle, also available on BBC Sounds. To the 3 o'clock kick-offs, and Norwich are beating Cardiff 3-2. It's finished goalless between Coventry and Stoke. Hull City 1-0 up over Huddersfield into the 7th minute of added on time. Ipswich have beaten Swansea 3-1. Leeds United have beaten Plymouth 2-1. Middlesbrough winning 1-0 over Leicester at the Riverside. Finished goalless between QPR and Bristol City. Sheffield have been beaten 4-0 by Millwall. Southampton have beaten West Brom 2-1. And Watford have absolutely thumped Rotherham 5-0.
Total Sport North East.
Get the latest team news, score updates and post-match reaction on Twitter at BBC Newcastle.
BBC Radio Newcastle.